After my rebirth, clutching my ID card, I rushed into the bank. I closed that savings account ending in 666, wiping it clean off the books. In my past life, Colin was always saying his business was short on cash flow, constantly borrowing my card to move money around. I was so blinded by love back then, I even set my passwords to his birthday. It wasn't until the debt collectors kicked my door in that I saw my name listed as the emergency contact on the loan agreement. Every single deposit in my bank statement was funneled into Colin's gaming accounts and luxury boutiques. I confronted Colin with the transfer records in hand. He was holding his new flame, trying on the Rolex he'd bought with my card. In the heat of the argument, he shoved me, and the back of my head slammed into the sharp corner of the counter. I saw a notification pop up on his phone. Mr. Colin, the online loan applied for using Miss Lynn's information has been deposited. When I opened my eyes again, the calendar on the desk was still turned to the day Colin first asked to borrow my card, and his WeChat message was still flashing on my phone. Babe, let me borrow your card to transfer some money. I'll pay you back right away. Would I be that foolish again in this life? Colin, you're going to reap what you sow. 1. Her finger hovered over the ATM screen for 3 seconds. In the end, I pressed confirm. The moment the machine swallowed that savings card ending in 666. I heard the frantic pounding of my own heart. It felt like it was about to leap out of my throat. My phone vibrated in my pocket. It's Colin. When his name flashed on the screen, my fingertips went numb. Visions from a past life suddenly flooded my mind. He stood at the luxury counter with his new flame in his arms, the Rolex on his wrist glinting under the lights. That was charged to my card. I rushed over and grabbed his sleeve. When he turned, the impatience in his eyes was like ice. Are you quite finished? He shoved me with considerable force. I staggered backward, and the back of my head struck the sharp corner of the counter. Did it hurt? I don't think so. It's just that everything suddenly went black. The last thing I saw was the glow of his phone screen. The text message was burned into my memory. Mr. Colin, the online loan applied for using Althea's information has been deposited. Althea. That's my name. The phone kept buzzing. The buzzing grew more insistent. I took a deep breath and hit decline. As I turned to leave, the glass door of the bank lobby reflected my face. His face was pale, with dark circles under his eyes. He looked like someone haunted by nightmares from a past life for far too long, but his eyes were bright and sharp, like tempered steel. Colin, in this lifetime, what you owe me, I'll make you pay back, piece by piece, with interest. Just as I stepped out of the bank, my phone rang again. This time, it was a landline number. The caller ID shows it's from the city. I stared at the screen for a couple of seconds. I swiped to answer. Is this a mess, Althea? Asked a mechanical female voice from the other end of the line. This is Prosperity Investments. Mr. Colin has applied for a loan in your name, and we need you to confirm the details. I hung up the phone immediately, blocked that number. I acted without a moment's hesitation. It was that same phone call from my past life. Back then, I naively asked, what loan? I don't know anything about that. The person on the other end then said, Mr. Colin provided your ID photo and bank card details. If you don't confirm this, it will affect your credit score. I panicked. I called back, hoping to explain. From then on, I fell into a bottomless pit. The phone fell silent. The sunlight fell on me, warm and gentle. I looked up at the sky. It was a piercing, brilliant blue. It was Friday. It was 3 hours until Colin would ask to borrow my card for the first time. There are 7 days left until he tricked me into signing that guarantee contract. There are 3 months left until my parents were forced to move overnight by debt collection calls. There's still time for everything. I clenched the bank card cancellation receipt in my pocket. Knuckles turned white. Colin, the game is on. This time, I make the rules, too. When I got back to the office, the receptionist gave me a strange look. Althea, you look really pale. I forced a faint smile and said nothing. I ran into the department manager in the elevator. He patted me on the shoulder. Althea, stay on top of that deal with Colin this afternoon. I nodded, but my fingertips were trembling. It was this exact partnership in my past life. Colin said the client insisted on using a personal account and asked to borrow my bank card for a day. It's just a quick transfer. I'll give it right back. He smiled gently then, his eyes twinkling like stars. I was completely fooled by that star. It ruined me. Cost me everything. In the office, Colin was already seated at the workstation opposite mine. He was wearing a white shirt today, with the cuffs rolled up to his forearms. He showed the watch on his wrist. I was the one who bought it. For his birthday last year, I saved up 3 months' salary to buy him an Omega. Looking at it now, it just feels like a cruel joke. He looked up, saw me, and smiled. Althea, you're here. His voice was just as pleasant as ever, like the lower register of a cello. I used to love listening to him talk. Now, it just grates on my ears. Didn't sleep well last night, he asked, raising an eyebrow as his gaze fell on the dark circles under my eyes. I murmured in response. Pulling out the chair and sitting down, I deliberately slowed down the motion of opening my laptop. I was waiting for him to ask to borrow the card. Sure enough, he tapped on my desk. Oh, by the way, The client is transferring the payment this afternoon. Can I use your card? Here it comes. My grip on the mouse tightened. A document popped up on the screen, the unfinished proposal from last night. I kept my eyes on the screen, not looking at him. My card got swallowed by the machine yesterday. His voice was calm. Colin was taken aback for a moment. Swallowed by the machine. Yeah, the ATM malfunctioned. I turned to look at him, forcing a smile. I just went to the bank to cancel it. The smile on his face froze for half a second. It quickly returned to normal. What bad timing, yeah, I said, lowering my eyes and pretending to shuffle through some papers. Use someone else's. He didn't say anything. I could feel his gaze resting on me, with a scrutinizing look, as if judging whether I was lying. After a moment, he finally spoke. All right, I'll ask someone else. I couldn't detect anything in his tone, but I knew he was getting suspicious. Just as well, he needs to know, and soon, that I'm not the same pushover I used to be. 3 in the afternoon. The client's payment has come through. Colin used another girl's card from the same department. I watched him holding his phone, smiling at that girl with such tenderness. Just like he used to with me. It felt like a pinprick to my heart. It didn't hurt. It's just a bit numb. That girl's name is Mia. In a past life, she was also tricked by Colin. He swindled $50,000 from her. She came to me in tears later, saying Colin had vanished. I was in no position to help anyone back then. All I could do was watch her cry. In this life, I can't let her walk into the fire again. Mia stopped me as I was leaving work. Althea, Colin wants to treat us to dinner tonight. Thanks for having my back this afternoon. I paused mid-step. I turned to look at her. The girl's eyes were sparkling. She seemed to have taken a liking to Colin. Why did he ask you out to dinner? I asked. He said, he thinks I'm a nice person. Mia looked down, a little embarrassed. I took a deep breath. Mia, I said, looking her straight in the eye and enunciating each word clearly. Stay away from Colin. She froze. Althea, you. Just listen to me. I cut her off. Don't ask why. With that, I turned and walked away. I didn't look back. I don't know if she'll listen, but I've said all I needed to say. I had just stepped out of the office building when my phone rang. It was my mom. Althea, are you coming home for dinner tonight? Your father bought some pork ribs. The moment I heard her voice, a lump formed in my throat. I was on the verge of tears. In my previous life, the last time my mother spoke to me was at the entrance of the nursing home. With red-rimmed eyes, she cursed me. How did I end up raising such an ungrateful wretch? After that, she fell ill. I went to the hospital to see her. She lay there with her eyes closed, not even lifting an eyelid. Mom, I said, my voice hoarse as I gripped the phone. I'm coming home. Okay, I'll wait for you. After hanging up, I stood by the roadside, watching the endless stream of traffic. The sun casts long shadows. How wonderful. They're still here. They can still call me home for dinner. Look, Colin, this is what I'm protecting. If you dare touch it again, I'll make you regret it. 3. The aroma of braised pork ribs greeted me as I pushed the door open. My dad was busy in the kitchen, wearing an apron. Hearing the noise, he poked his head out to look. You're back. Yeah. I changed my shoes and walked over. There was less gray at his temples than I remembered. I felt a wave of relief. In his past life, the relentless debt collection calls had turned his hair white overnight. Dad, let me help you. No, you just sit and rest. He gently nudged me away. Your mom is in the living room, prepping the vegetables. My mother was sitting on the sofa, a handful of green beans in her hands. He saw me and smiled. Tired. Have some water first. On the coffee table sat a glass of plain, cooled water. I picked it up and took a sip. The water is sweet. It tastes just like it did when I was a kid. During dinner, my dad suddenly brought up Colin. That Colin fellow seems quite taken with you. My hand, holding the chopsticks, froze midair. Dad, how did you know? Last time I was at your office, I saw him bring you bubble tea. My mom chimed in. He's a nice-looking young man, and he was very polite. My heart sank. So it started that early. Mom, he's just a colleague. Just a colleague. My dad raised an eyebrow. The way he looks at you is more than just collegial. I put down my chopsticks. Mom, Dad, I need to tell you something. They both looked at me. You both need to stay away from Colin from now on. My mom was taken aback. What's wrong? Did he do something to upset you? No. I shook my head. I just don't think he's a very good person. I couldn't very well tell them that this man would one day make it impossible for them to return home. You, child, my father frowned. Shouldn't speak ill of others so carelessly. I'm not just talking trash, I said, looking at them. Just listen to me on this. Don't get involved with him, especially when money is concerned. My mother thought for a moment, then nodded. All right, I'll listen to you. My father didn't say anything, but he didn't object either. I felt a little more at ease. At least they won't trust Colin so easily now. After dinner, I helped clear the table. My phone rang in the living room. It's Colin. My mom went to pick him up. Hello. Oh, you're looking for Althea. She's doing the dishes. Okay, I'll have her call you back. After hanging up, she looked at me with a somewhat suggestive gaze. Colin's looking for you. I wiped my hands and picked up my phone. I walked out to the balcony before calling back. Hello, Althea, are you home? Colin's voice was laced with amusement. Yeah, Mia just told me you asked her to stay away from me. Just as I thought, Mia told him after all. I leaned against the railing, watching the streetlights below. Yes, why? His voice grew heavier. No reason, I said flatly. I just don't think you're right for her. Then who am I right for? He asked abruptly. I was taken aback for a moment, then I smiled. Well, it's not for me, anyway. There was a silence on the other end of the line for a few seconds. Althea, you're acting strange today, am I? I fiddled with the hem of my shirt. Maybe I'm just tired. It's the weekend tomorrow. Want to go see a movie, he said, changing the subject. No, I've got something on tomorrow. What is it? None of your business. With that, I hung up the phone, blocked him. The whole sequence was smooth as silk. In my past life, I cared too much about his feelings, which is exactly how he kept me under his thumb. This life, it's not worth it anymore. I had just slipped my phone back into my pocket when a text message came through. It was from the bank. It was a notification that a deposit of 5,000 yuan had been made into my savings account ending in 3791. I was taken aback. I just got this card today. No one knows the card number except the bank. Who would send me money? I opened the transfer record. The sender's name was unfamiliar, but the note read, from Colin. My heart skipped a beat. Colin, what's he up to now? 5,000 bucks. Not a penny more, not a penny less. It was the exact same amount he first borrowed from me in a past life. Back then, he said his mother was sick and urgently needed the money, without a second thought. I transferred my freshly deposited paycheck to him. I only found out later that he used that money to buy a bag for his new flame. I stared at that text message for a long time. My fingertips were ice cold. He's testing me, testing to see if I'm really on my guard against him. If I give the money back, he'll know for sure that I've changed. But if I keep it, he'll think I'm still the same pushover he can manipulate. I take a deep breath, open the transfer details. Find the payer's bank card number, then transfer the 5,000 yuan back. The note contained only 2 words, not alone. After finishing all that, I put my phone on silent. I turned and went back to the living room. My mom was sitting on the sofa watching TV. She saw me and smiled. Who were you on the phone with for so long? Just a colleague. I walked over and sat down beside her. Mom, how about we go on a trip to the countryside next week? My mom's eyes lit up. That sounds wonderful. Your father has been wanting to go for ages. Seeing her smile warms my heart. Colin, no matter what tricks you try, I won't let you ruin my life again, for I woke up very early on Saturday morning. Sunlight streamed through a gap in the curtains, casting a bright strip of light on the floor. I picked up my phone and opened WeChat. Colin's WeChat is still blocked. I felt a bit more settled. I got up, washed up, and changed my clothes. Before I left, my mom shoved a bag of bread into my hands. Eat it on the way. Yeah, I'm going somewhere today. In his past life, Colin had a secret hideout. It was an apartment he had rented. He had hidden a lot of things there, including the loan contracts he took out using my information, and his chat logs with other girls. It was only after he died, while I was sorting through his belongings, that I stumbled upon that place. I remember the address to this day, clear as a bell. It was in an old, run-down residential complex on the city's outskirts. The taxi ride there took 40 minutes. In the guard booth at the complex entrance sat an old man. He squinted at me and asked, "Who are you looking for?" "I'm here for Colin," I said, giving his name and the apartment number. The old man looked me up and down, asked nothing further, and waved me in with a flick of his hand. Seems like Colin brings different girls here all the time. The old man was no longer fazed by it. Upon entering the hallway, the musty smell hit me. The paint was peeling, and the stair railing was covered in rust. I held onto the railing as I made my way upstairs. 3rd floor, room 302. The door was shut. I stood before the door and took a deep breath. In my past life, I broke in by picking the lock. This time, I came prepared. I took a set of keys from my bag. I had them made for me just yesterday. In my past life, I found the spare key Colin had hidden in that apartment. It was tucked away in the box for the fire hydrant by the door. Sure enough, I found it right there. I slid the key into the lock and gave it a gentle turn. There was a soft click. The door swung open. A faint scent of perfume, mingled with cigarette smoke, wafted towards me. It was exactly as I remembered. The apartment is small. Just a 1-bedroom. The decor is very simple, but everywhere you look, there are women's things. Lipstick, earrings, dresses. Clearly, more than one woman had been here. I walked into the living room, and my gaze fell upon the coffee table. A laptop was sitting on it. It was Colin's. In my past life, it was on this very computer that I found all the evidence of his crimes. I walked over and turned on the computer. It required a password. I entered my date of birth. Nope, tried his birthday next. That wasn't it either. He frowned. In our past life, his computer password was the pinyin of my name. Did he change it? I'm starting to feel a little panicked. If I can't get into the computer, I won't be able to find the evidence. I took a deep breath and tried hard to remember. In my past life, how did I open it? It seems like I tried spelling out Mia's name. The screen lit up. The password was correct. My heart skipped a beat. He actually used Mia's name as the password. So, is he serious about Mia? Or is he just intrigued by the novelty? No time to dwell on this. I clicked open the folder. Sure enough, there was a lot inside, a folder named Contracts. Clicked open. It was full of scanned loan agreements. In the borrower's column, my name was written in stark clarity, Althea. The emergency contact was my parents' phone number. The date was 1 month before the debt collectors came for me in my past life. There are many other girls' names as well. Mia's is in there too. The loan amounts range from 5,000 to 50,000. My hands are trembling. This evidence is more than enough to ruin him. I took out my phone and started taking pictures. I took them one by one, making sure each shot was crystal clear. Then, I backed up all the photos to the cloud. I sent it to another one of my email addresses. After that, I opened another folder. Inside were screenshots of chat logs, flirtatious conversations between Colin and various girls. He says pretty much the same thing to every girl. You're the only one for me. Once I get through this busy period, I'll take you to meet my parents. Those other women, it was all just an act that made me sick to my stomach. I must have been blind in my past life. I can't believe I fell for that nonsense. Keep scrolling. I came across his chat history with an unfamiliar number. The contact was saved as Brother Wine. Colin, it's time to repay that loan for Althea. Brother Wine, just a few more days. Please, I'll have the money soon. Don't try any funny business. If you don't pay up, I'm going straight to her parents. No, no, no. Brother Wine, I'll pay it back, I promise. The date was 3 days before I was chased for the debt, so he knew all along that the debt collectors would come, yet you never told me a thing. You just left me completely in the dark. You even stood by and watched as the debt collectors backed me into a corner. The tears just started falling. It hit the keyboard. A small patch of water bloomed. I quickly wiped away my tears. I can't cry. This is no time for tears. I took pictures, one by one. Of all these chat logs, my fingers brushed over the keyboard and accidentally nudged the photo frame on the corner of the desk. Glass was shattered all over the floor. In the photo, Colin had his arm around a girl, beaming with a brilliant smile. I know that girl. She's the director at our company, Monica, 35, divorced, and holding a lot of resources. In my past life, I didn't find out that Colin had already gotten involved with her until after I was fired. And he used the very money he had swindled from me to do it. Buy her a bag, buy her a car. How ironic. I crouched down and carefully picked up the photograph. I put it in my own bag. This is also evidence. Suddenly, the sound of a key turning came from outside the door. My heart leapt into my throat. Someone's back. Is that Colin? Or another woman? No time to think. I quickly shut down the computer and put everything back in order. Then, he hurried into the bedroom. He hid inside the wardrobe. The wardrobe was filled with women's clothing. The scent of perfume grew stronger. I covered my mouth and held my breath. The door opened. Footsteps entered the room. It was a man's voice. On the phone. Got it, Brother Wine. I'll definitely pay back that money next week. Don't worry. I've already handled things with Althea. She's still completely devoted to me. It's Colin. My nails dug deep into my palm. Unwavering devotion. He actually had the nerve to say that. All right, let's leave it at that for now. Someone's here. He hung up the phone. Then, a woman's voice came. Who is it? It was Monica. Nothing. Just a debt collector, Colin said, his voice tinged with impatience. Are the debt collectors bothering you again? Monica's voice was tinged with concern. Just how much do you owe? It's not that much. I'll have it paid off soon. Colin reassured her. Hey, by the way, could you spot me some cash for now? Didn't I just transfer you 50,000 last time? That wasn't nearly enough. Colin, what on earth are you doing? Monica's voice rose a little. If you keep this up, we're done talking. Come on, Monica. Don't be like that. Colin's tone softened. I'm working on a huge project. Okay, once it pays off, I'll pay you back 10 times over, 100 times. What project? That, I can't say just yet. I think you're lying to me. I'm not. Then came the sound of a struggle. Then, Monica screamed, let go of me. Colin, you're hurting me. Monica, just help me one more time. Just once. Colin's voice was frantic. I don't have any money. How can you not have any money? Didn't you just sell that house? That's my son's tuition money. Just let me borrow it for now. I'll pay you back as soon as I have the money, in your dreams, then don't blame me for what happens next. Colin's voice turned vicious. I hid in the wardrobe, trembling all over. In my past life, how did I fail to see what he was really like? Mad, obsessive, and willing to do anything for money. The commotion outside was growing louder. There was the sound of something shattering, and then, Monica's cries. I pulled out my phone and switched it to record. Slide the phone out through the gap in the wardrobe, try to get a clear recording. About 10 or so minutes passed. It fell quiet outside. All that could be heard was Monica sobbing. "Colin, you bastard. I can give you the money," Colin said calmly, "but you have to do something for me." "What is it?" "Help me transfer Althea to the branch office." My heart sank. He wants to transfer me. Why transfer her to the branch office? Monica asked, puzzled. She's been a bit disobedient lately. Colin's voice turned cold, easier to control from a distance. "What are you planning to do with her? Don't ask questions you shouldn't." Colin cut her off. "Just tell me, are you going to help me or not?" Monica was silent for a long time. "All right, I'll help you. That's more like it." "Monica," Colin's voice softened again. "Once I've succeeded, I'll make sure to repay you properly. That won't be necessary. I'll transfer the money to you. From now on, we're even, Monica." "Don't call me that." Footsteps sounded. Monica left. The door slammed shut with a heavy thud. Colin was left alone in the room. He seemed to be drinking. The clinking sound of bottles. Then came his muttered soliloquy. "Althea, did you really think canceling the card would stop me? Did you think keeping Mia away from me would leave me helpless? How naive. I have copies of your ID card and all your bank card details. Think you can get rid of me? Dream on, in this life. You're still going to be my personal ATM." My heart sank, little by little. So that's how it is. He had an ace up his sleeve all along. He still has my information in his possession. So, does that mean everything I did today was for nothing? No, I can't give up. I still have evidence. I recorded his conversation with Monica. I found his loan contract. All of this is evidence of his crimes. Colin, just you wait. I won't let you get away with this. A little while later, it seems Colin has left. The house fell completely silent. I hid in the wardrobe for a long time. Only when I was sure he was really gone did I dare to come out. The room was in complete disarray. The vase lay shattered on the floor. The table had been overturned. There was blood on the floor. Is this Monica's? A chill ran down my spine. I walked into the living room and picked up my bag. I hurried out. The moment the door closed, I heard the sound of my own heartbeat. It was pounding like a drum. I walked downstairs. The sunlight was blinding. A chill ran through my entire body. My phone vibrated in my pocket. It was a text message. It was from the company's HR department. "Althea, after careful consideration by the company, you are being transferred to a branch office. Please report for duty next Monday." It's happening. Colin didn't waste any time. The branch office is in the neighboring city. It's over 200 kilometers from here. He's trying to get me transferred away from my parents. Then he brazenly used my information to take out loans, leaving me utterly helpless, with nowhere to turn for help. In your dreams, I stared at that text message. A cold smirk played on my lips. "Colin, you want to play? I'm in, all the way. A transfer to the branch office. Is that it? Fine by me. I'll be watching. Let's see what tricks you've got." 5. By the time I got home, it was already afternoon. My mom was startled when she saw me. "You look so pale. What's wrong?" "It's nothing, Mom. I'm just a little tired." I put my bag on the sofa and went straight to the bedroom. I didn't dare to relax until the door was safely shut. My back was already soaked with cold sweat. I made another backup of the recordings and photos from my phone. Only then did I feel a slight sense of relief. Lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, my mind is filled with Colin's words. He has a copy of my ID card and my bank card details. So, even if I change my card and my phone number, he can still take out loans in my name. What do I do? Am I really never going to escape this, even in this lifetime? No, there has to be a way. I sit up, I turn on the computer, begin search. How can I prevent others from using my identity to take out loans? There are many answers. Change your bank card PIN, check your credit report regularly, set up SMS alerts. The most important rule is this: if you discover fraudulent use, report it to the police immediately. Call the police, right? Call the police. In my past life, why didn't I think to call the police? Because I was so foolish. I always thought that if I just explained things clearly to Colin, the problem would be solved. In the end, I backed myself into a corner. In this life, I cannot make the same mistake again. I opened my browser and searched for the nearest police station. Then, I compiled all the evidence into a single folder. I saved it onto a USB drive. Monday, I went to the company to process my transfer order. The HR person looked at me with a somewhat complicated expression. "Althea, conditions at the branch office are quite tough. Are you sure about this?" "Yes," I nodded. "You know, if you really don't want to go, you could always talk to the supervisor about it." "No, it's fine. I know. It's what Monica wants. She wants me gone." "Fine. I'll do exactly as she wishes. Only by going to the branch office. Can we get Colin to lower his guard? That's how you find better opportunities." Mia came over while I was packing. "Althea, are you really leaving?" "Yeah." "Why?" "Company orders." "Did Colin have something to do with this?" Mia lowered her voice. I glanced at her. "Why do you ask?" "I saw him arguing with Director Lee in the stairwell yesterday." Mia bit her lip. I think I heard your name mentioned. It seems Mia isn't as clueless as I thought. Let's not worry about that. I patted her shoulder. Just be careful yourself, Althea. I'm leaving, carrying my suitcase. I walked out of the office. Colin wasn't there, probably off somewhere laughing to themselves. I walked out of the company's main entrance. The sun was just right. I looked up at the sky. Colin, the game is just beginning. The branch office is located in an industrial park. It's quite remote. The office building is quite old. My desk is in a corner by the window. All my colleagues are very busy. Nobody pays any attention to me. Perfect. I can go about my business without a worry. In the afternoon, I went to the local police station, printed out all the evidence from the USB drive, loan agreement, chat history, transcript of the recording. It was all handed over to the police. Officer, I need to report a crime. What are you reporting? Someone used my identity to take out loans, and it's also suspected fraud. The officer looked over the evidence I had submitted, his brow furrowed. How did you come by this evidence? I hesitated. I found it at his place. Did you enter someone's home without permission? That's illegal, the officer said sternly. I know I was wrong, I said, lowering my head, but I had no choice. He was about to use my information to take out a loan, if I didn't stop him. My life would have been ruined, the police officer sighed. You should head home for now. We'll look into it. So, when can I expect to hear something? Hard to say. The officer looked at me. A lot of the evidence you've provided needs to be verified. Besides, this Colin person hasn't taken any concrete action yet, so it's difficult for us to open a formal case. What do I do now? My heart sank. First, make sure to protect your personal information. Don't give it out to anyone easily. If you really did take out a loan, your first step should be to call the police. Okay, I walked out of the police station. I'm feeling a bit down, but it was to be expected. With no tangible loss, it's really hard for the police to open a formal case, but at least I've filed a report. If Colin dares to use my information for another loan, he'll have a police record. Back at the dorm, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. The caller ID showed it was local. I hesitated for a moment, then answered. Hello, Althea, that was Colin's voice. How did he get my new number? How did you get this number? You think I can't get your number that easily, he said, his voice laced with smugness. I heard you transferred to the branch office. None of your business. How is it none of my business? He laughed. Althea, stop this. Come back. I'm not stopping anything. Are you still mad at me? I don't want to argue with you. Don't hang up. Colin's voice grew low. Althea. I know what you're doing. What am I doing? You went to the police, didn't you? My heart skipped a beat. How did he know? You've been following me. Why would I need to follow you? Colin sneered. You think the police will help you? How naive. Without evidence, they won't lift a finger. I have evidence. Evidence. Colin laughed. Evidence you stole by breaking into my house. You think a court will believe that? You, Althea, I'm warning you. Don't fight me. Colin's voice held a threat. You can't win. Just come back quietly. We can be like we were before. Isn't that better? No, it's not, I said through gritted teeth. Then don't blame me for what happens next. What are you going to do? What do you think? Colin's voice was laced with madness. You're afraid I'll use your information to take out loans, aren't you? Well, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to ruin you. I'll make sure you never recover from this, Colin. You're insane. You brought this on yourself. The call was disconnected. I clutched my phone, trembling all over. He's really going to do it. He's going to ruin me. No, I can't just sit here and do nothing. I have to figure something out. We have to stop him. 6. After hanging up on Colin, my hands and feet went cold. His threat hung over my head like a blade. I knew he meant every word. I had to move faster. I turned on my computer and started searching for information on Colin, his education, his family background, his previous work experience. I didn't believe he could erase his past so completely. Just as I thought, I found a post about him on an old forum. It was from 5 years ago. The title read, exposing a scammer named Colin who swindled 30,000 yuan from me. Everyone, be careful. The post described the scam in detail. It's almost exactly the same as what I'm going through now. It also started under the guise of a romantic relationship, then moved to borrowing money, and ended with them vanishing. The poster's username is Sunshine is just right. I tried sending her a private message. I wonder if she'll ever read it. After doing all that, I thought of Monica again. She was threatened by Colin, so she must hate him too. Perhaps I can find more evidence from her. I pulled up Monica's number on my phone. It was saved in Colin's phone from a past life. I hesitated for a moment, then dialed. It rang for a long time before someone finally picked up. Hello, who is it? Monica's voice sounded weary, directorly. It's me, Althea. There was a silence of a few seconds on the other end of the line. What do you want? I need to talk to you about Colin. I have nothing to say to you. Directorly, I said earnestly. Colin swindled you out of your money and threatened you. Are you just going to accept that? What choice do I have? Monica's voice was laced with bitterness. I've already gone to the police. But they said there isn't enough evidence. I've also reported it to the police, I said. I have some evidence that might help you. What kind of evidence? The loan contract he took out using my stolen identity, his chat logs with other women, and the recording of him threatening you. Monica's breathing noticeably quickened. Do you have the recording? Yeah. Where is it? I'm at the branch office in the neighboring city. If it's convenient for you, we could meet up. Monica was silent for a long time. Okay. How about we meet at the cafe near the branch office tomorrow at 10 a.m.? Sure. After hanging up the phone, I felt a little more settled. At least I wasn't fighting this battle alone anymore. The next morning, I arrived at the cafe early. I took a seat by the window. I ordered 2 coffees. 10 o'clock sharp, Monica arrived. She was dressed in professional attire, her hair meticulously styled, yet the weariness in her eyes was impossible to hide. Have a seat, I said. She sat down without a word. I took out the voice recorder and placed it on the table. This is the recording from that day. Monica picked up the voice recorder and pressed play. Colin's frantic voice came out from it. The color drained slowly from her face. The recording ended. She set the recorder down. Her hands were trembling. That bastard, she said through gritted teeth. Directorly, I said, looking at her. Colin didn't just scam us, he scammed a lot of people. Someone exposed him online 5 years ago. I showed her the forum post. The more Monica read, the paler her face became. No wonder he was so slick about it. Turns out he's a repeat offender. We have to band together if we want to make him pay for this, I said. How do we do that? We gather all the evidence each of us has, compile it, and hand it over to the police together, with both witnesses and physical proof. They'll have to open a case. Monica nodded. Okay, what evidence do you have? I asked. The transfer records, Monica said. I sent him 50,000, there's a bank statement, and the text messages where he threatened me. These are all very useful, I said. By the way, do you know what his big project is all about? Monica shook her head. No idea? He's always refused to say. I suspect there is no big project at all, I said. He's just trying to scam you out of your money. Monica let out a sigh. Now I think so too. He was lying to me. What about your son's tuition? I've already borrowed some from relatives. Monica smiled bitterly. Luckily, it's not time to pay the tuition yet. That's good. We discussed a few more details. We agreed to meet at the police station in the afternoon to submit all the evidence together. As I was leaving the cafe, Monica called out to me, Althea, about what happened before. I'm sorry. She looked at me, her expression complicated. Transferring you to the branch office was my mistake. I was taken aback for a moment, then shook my head. It's all in the past. Now is not the time to dwell on this. Our only target is Colin. 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we arrived at the police station right on time. The officer who received us was the same one from last time. He seemed a bit surprised to see us come in together. Do you two know each other? We're colleagues, and we've both been conned by Colin, Monica said. She laid out the bank statements and text message records on the table. I added the screenshots of the newly discovered forum posts, along with the private message history with the original poster. The officer flipped through the evidence page by page, his brow furrowing deeper with each one. This evidence is much more complete than last time. He said, Officer, can we file a case now? I asked. We can start by accepting the report, the officer said, taking out a registration form. Please write down the details one more time. It took us an hour to finish writing down the whole sequence of events. The sun was shining brightly as we stepped out of the police station. Monica took a deep breath. I hope this time we'll get some answers. We will, I said, after seeing Monica off. I returned to the branch office. I had just sat down when I received a text message. It was from that netizen named Sunny Day. Hello, I saw your private message. Is the Colin you mentioned about 180 centimeters tall, with a scar on the web of his right hand? My heart skipped a beat. It was him. In my past life, I had seen that scar on his wrist. Yes, I replied. He scammed you too. Yeah. He used my identity to take out loans and swindled money from other people too. That bastard, she sent along with an angry emoji. He conned me out of 30,000 back then, and I was even pregnant with his child, but he just vanished into thin air. My breath caught in my throat. A child. Colin has a child. What happened to you after that? I asked. I lost the baby, and I almost took my own life, she replied, her voice thick with despair. All these years, I've been searching for him, just to make him pay. We're gathering evidence to press charges against him. Would you be willing to testify? Yes, absolutely. She replied immediately, I'll do anything to put him behind bars. Excellent. We exchanged contact information. Her name is Tina. She lives in another city. She said she'd get here as soon as possible. After hanging up, I stared out the window. A surge of strength welled up inside. More and more people are stepping forward. Colin, your days of ease are over. Evening. I got a call from the police. Althea, speaking. We examined Colin's bank statements and found numerous recent deposits from unknown sources, all of which were funneled to various small loan companies. Is he using someone else's information to take out loans? That's highly likely, the officer said. We've already obtained a search warrant and will be searching his home tomorrow. Is there anything you need me to do? Hold your horses for now and wait for our signal. Got it. After hanging up. I was so excited I nearly jumped out of my skin. Finally, we're getting somewhere. I slept soundly through the night. No nightmares. Early the next morning, I stayed right by my phone, waiting for word from the police. 10 in the morning, the phone rang. It was the police. Althea, we found a large number of ID card copies, bank card information, and many forged contracts at Colin's place. Excellent. We've already detained Colin. The officer said, You, Monica, and the woman named Tina need to come down to the station as soon as possible to give your statements. All right, we're on our way. I called Monica and Tina right away. They were both really excited, especially Tina. She said she was already on her way. The afternoon, I returned to the city I had left. I went straight to the police station. Monica and Tina were already there. Tina looked weary, yet her eyes were brimming with anticipation. The three of us sat in the lounge. No one spoke. Yet we could all sense each other's feelings, nervous, excited, and a faint, almost imperceptible sense of relief. When it was my turn to give my statement, the police asked me a lot of questions about how Colin stole my information, about how I found out, about the origin of that evidence. I answered every question truthfully, including the part about me entering his apartment without permission. The officer didn't reprimand me any further. He just let out a sigh. Next time something like this happens, call the police first, don't act on impulse. I understand. By the time the statement was finished, it was already evening. The police said Colin had confessed to his crime without reservation. He didn't just steal my identity, he stole the identities of many other women too. The total amount involved is as high as several $100,000. What awaits him is the full force of the law. Stepping out of the police station. Night had fallen. The street lights flickered on. They stretched our shadows long. It's finally over, Monica said. Yeah. Tina's voice was choked with emotion. I've waited 5 years for this day. I looked at them. My heart was a whirlwind of emotions. The tragedy of the past life did not repeat itself. My parents are safe and sound, and my reputation remains intact. The girls who were deceived by Colin can finally get the justice they deserve. Let's go get something to eat, I said, to celebrate. Okay, we found a barbecue joint. We ordered a ton of food, plus some beers. Nobody mentioned Colin, just chatting about trivial things. Tina said she's planning to move to a new city and start a new chapter in her life. Monica said she's going to focus more of her energy on her work and her son. I said I want to quit my job and go traveling. Take a good look at the world. After a few rounds of drinks, Tina suddenly burst into tears. I'm sorry, she said. If I had spoken up back then, maybe so many people wouldn't have been deceived. It's not your fault, Monica said, patting her on the back. Colin is just too cunning. Yeah, I said. It's not too late for us to speak up now. At the very least, we stopped him from hurting more people. That's enough. As we left the barbecue joint, Tina asked for my number. Let's keep in touch. She said, sure. Monica also said, if you're not comfortable back at the branch office, just come back. I'll find you a different position. Thank you, Director Lee. Please, call me Monica. Monica, we said our goodbyes at the crossroads. Each of us headed in a different direction. I watched their figures fade into the night. A sudden warmth filled my heart. My phone vibrated in my pocket. It was my mom calling. Althea, when are you coming home? Your dad made your favorite sweet and sour pork ribs. On my way. Take care on your way. Okay. I hung up the phone. I looked up at the sky. The stars are so bright tonight, like diamonds scattered on black velvet. It's wonderful. It's all over now. Colin got what he deserved. We can all start a new life now. Only, I felt for the phone in my pocket. There, a photograph still remains. It was found that day in Colin's apartment. A photo of him with a strange man. That man. He looks somewhat familiar to me. I feel like I've seen this somewhere before, but I just can't place it right now. Maybe, it's probably just a trivial little episode. I smiled. I turned and headed for home. My steps were light. It was as if a great weight had been lifted. The road ahead is still long, but I know this. I will never live in such a wretched state again, as I did in my past life. I will live my life well. Cherish everything you have right now, because this is what I paid for with my life. 7. The aroma of sweet and sour pork ribs had already filled the entire house when I got home. My dad, wearing an apron, peeked up from the kitchen. "You're back." "Yeah." My mother walked over and took the bag from my hand. "You must be exhausted. Come, sit down and rest." "I'm not tired." I sat on the sofa, watching their busy figures. My heart feels so warm. "That's wonderful. Everything is back on track." During the meal, I told them about Colin getting arrested. I didn't go into too much detail. I just said he was arrested by the police for fraud. My parents were completely stunned. "How could he do something like this?" My mother said with a frown. "You never really know what's in a person's heart." My father sighed. "Thank goodness you're all right." My mother said, patting my hand. "You'll have to be more careful about who you befriend from now on." "I know, Mom." After dinner, I helped clear the table. My phone rang. It was Mia. "Althea, have you heard? Colin's been arrested by the police." Her voice was full of surprise. "Yeah, I know. Oh my God. That's awful," Mia said. "How could he be like that? Thank goodness you warned me to stay away, or I would have been fooled too." "Well, as long as you're okay." "Althea, when are you coming back? Everyone misses you." "I'm not sure yet." "Oh, well, you have to tell me when you get back." "Okay." After hanging up the phone, I looked out the window. Word about Colin's arrest has definitely spread through the company. I wonder what kind of fallout this will cause. Just as I thought, the very next day, I got a call from the company's HR department. "Althea, are you free to come to the office now?" "What's up?" "We'd like to talk to you about your transfer." "Okay, I know they want me to come back. After all, in the Colin matter, I was the victim and the whistleblower." Back to the company, the atmosphere in the office building was a bit tense. My colleagues were looking at me with curiosity and scrutiny. I ignored them. I walked straight to the HR office. The HR director was a kindly, middle-aged woman. She saw me and smiled. "Althea, have a seat." "Thank you. We're all aware of what happened with Colin," she said. "You've been through a lot. It's all right. Regarding your transfer, the company has reviewed the decision and decided to rescind it," she said. "You can come back to your previous position, with no change to your role. If you don't want to go back to your old department, you could transfer to a different one." I thought about it. There are too many memories associated with Colin in my old department. Going back would inevitably feel uncomfortable. "I'd like to transfer to the marketing department." "Approved." The HR director nodded. "The head of marketing is very impressed with you." "Thank you." "You're welcome." I walked out of the HR office. I went to my old department to pack up my things. Mia saw me and her eyes lit up. "Althea, you're back." "That's wonderful," she said, helping me organize the files. "I knew you'd come back. From now on, I'll be in the marketing department." "Huh?" Mia was taken aback. "Why?" "I'm thinking of a change of scenery." "Oh." She was a little disappointed, but quickly smiled again. "That's okay. We can still see each other often." "Yeah." After packing up my things, I headed to the marketing department. The director is a very capable woman. She introduced me to the new colleagues. Everyone was very welcoming. She didn't ask me too much about Colin. "That's good. I just want to work in peace and quiet, start a new life." Afternoon, Monica came to see me. "Are you done for the day?" "Yeah." "Want to go grab a coffee?" "Okay." We went to the cafe downstairs from the office. "Colin's case has been transferred to the prosecutor's office," Monica said. "His lawyer contacted me, asking me to write a letter of forgiveness. They said they could offer me compensation. Did you agree?" "No." Monica shook her head. "I don't want his money. I just want him to get the punishment he deserves." "Me too." "What about Tina? Did she agree?" "I don't know," I said. "I haven't contacted her yet. She's had a tough time these past few years." Monica sighed. "Maybe she needs this money." I fell silent. "Yeah, everyone's circumstances are different. Choices can vary. We have no right to judge others." "Oh, right." Monica looked at me. "You said the other day that you saw a photo of him with a strange man in Colin's apartment." "Yeah." "Figure out who it was yet?" "No." I shook my head. "Maybe just a friend of his." "Let's hope so." Monica's expression was complicated. "Still, better to be careful. The kind of people Colin knows probably aren't the best sort." "I know." After finishing my coffee, I headed back to the office. I had just sat down when my phone rang. It was an unknown number. The area code showed it was from out of town. I hesitated for a moment, then answered. "Hello, is this Ms. Althea?" asked a deep male voice. "Speaking." "Who is this?" "I'm Colin's lawyer." My heart sank. "Can I help you?" "Ms. Althea, I'd like to speak with you about Colin's case." "I have nothing to say to you." "Ms. Althea, Colin has come to realize his mistake," the lawyer said calmly. "He wishes to offer you compensation and hopes you will provide a letter of forgiveness." "Compensation?" I laughed. "What he owes me can't be repaid with money." "Ms. Althea, to err is human. Wouldn't it be good to give him a chance to turn over a new leaf?" "Turn over a new leaf." I thought of everything from my past life, after all the people he's hurt. What gives him the right to a fresh start? "Ms. Althea, If you don't provide a letter of forgiveness, Colin is likely to face a very severe sentence. He's getting exactly what he deserves. Are you really that heartless? The heartless one is him, not me. I hung up the phone. I blocked the number. Yet, deep down, I felt a strange unease. Why would Colin's lawyer suddenly reach out to me? Unless, does he have another card up his sleeve? I felt for my phone in my pocket. That photo is still in there. The stranger's face is becoming clearer and clearer in my mind. I feel like I've definitely seen him somewhere before. For the next few days, I couldn't stop thinking about that strange man, but no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't remember where I'd seen him before. Work was hectic. The pace in the marketing department is much faster than in my old one. There are endless meetings and proposals to work on every single day. But that's not a bad thing. It leaves me no time to dwell on all those troubles. Friday evening, the company organized a team-building event. We went to a resort out in the suburbs. Everyone had a great time. I was gradually settling into the new team. In the evening, everyone gathered around for a barbecue. The director came over to me, holding a bottle of beer. Althea, come on, have a drink with us. Thank you, director. Please, call me Zoe. She patted my shoulder. You've worked hard these past few days. It was no trouble at all. I heard about what happened with Colin. Zoe looked at me. Don't take it to heart. Someone like that isn't worth it. I know. It's really not easy to move past something that awful. Zoe sighed. If you ever have any trouble in the future, please, just tell me. Thanks, Zoe. You're welcome. We clinked our glasses. The beer was a bit bitter, but inside, I felt a warm glow. We were halfway through the barbecue. Someone suggested we go sing karaoke. The resort had a private karaoke room. Everyone piled in. I'm not really a fan of overly loud environments. Alone, sitting out on the terrace, gazing up at the stars in the sky, my phone vibrated in my pocket. It was a WeChat message from Tina. Althea, I'm home. Okay, get some rest. Did Colin's lawyer get in touch with you? Yes, they did. Did you agree to write a letter of leniency? No, me neither. Tina sent an angry emoji. He thinks he can buy me off. Not a chance. Yeah, oh. I just remembered something, Tina said. Back then, Colin swindled money from me, claiming he was going into business with a friend. A friend. My heart skipped a beat. What kind of friend? I met him once, Tina said. Very tall, very thin, and he looked quite shrewd. Very tall, very thin, very shrewd. He looks a bit like the man in the photo. Do you remember what he looked like? Not really, Tina said. It's been 5 years. Did he ever mention that friend's name? It was Hugo? I think, Hugo. I searched my mind for that name. Suddenly, a figure leaped out. It was our company's vice president, Hugo. He was tall, thin, and looked very sharp. And what's more, I once saw him and Colin meeting up downstairs at the office. At the time, I just thought they were ordinary colleagues. Looking back on it now, there might be more to their relationship than meets the eye. In the group photo saved on Colin's phone, the man's facial features, especially around the eyes, bore an uncanny resemblance to Hugo. My heart skipped a beat. It can't be. Is Hugo the one pulling Colin's strings? That thought sent a chill down my spine. Hugo holds a very high position in the company. He keeps a low profile, and very few people know what he's really about. If he's connected to Colin, does that mean he was involved in the things Colin did? Althea, are you okay? Tina messaged. It's nothing, I replied. I just suddenly remembered that I might have seen that guy named Hugo before. Really? Yeah, but it's not confirmed yet. If that's true, then they're in on it together. Tina sent a shocked emoji. That's terrifying. I'll get to the bottom of this. You should be careful, Tina said. That kind of person is definitely not to be messed with. I know. After hanging up the WeChat call, I stared at the distant lights. My mind was in complete turmoil. If Hugo is really connected to Colin, what would his motive be? Is it just about the money, or is there something more? Is there a bigger conspiracy at play? I don't even want to think about it, but I know there is. We absolutely cannot let this matter rest. The next day, after the team-building event, we returned to the office. I went to the HR department, using the pretext of needing to understand the management's background. I wanted to look at Hugo's file. The HR person seemed hesitant. Vice President Lin's file is confidential. I just wanted to understand his work history to write a market analysis report. I offered as an excuse. After a moment's thought, HR showed it to me anyway. The information is straightforward. Hugo, 35 years old, a graduate of a prestigious university, joined the company 5 years ago. He rose through the ranks to become vice president. His resume is impeccable. There doesn't seem to be anything wrong, but that's precisely what makes me suspicious. How could someone with such a spotless, almost perfect background get involved with a con man like Colin that afternoon? I went to the break room to get some water. I ran into Hugo. He was dressed in a suit, holding a file in his hand. Upon seeing me, he gave a slight nod. Althea, Vice President Lin, I hear you've been doing well in the marketing department lately, he said, his voice gentle. Thank you for the kind words, Vice President Lin. Keep up the good work. He smiled and turned to leave. I watched him walk away. The doubt in my mind grew larger and larger. His smile seemed very kind, yet I sensed a trace of imperceptible coldness from it. I returned to my workstation. I powered up my computer. I started searching for Hugo's name. I was hoping to find some trace of a connection between him and Colin, but the search results only turned up reports of his various business engagements. There is no useful information, it seems. He is deeply hidden. Evening, I went to the apartment where Colin had been living before he was arrested. The door was still slightly ajar. The police had already searched the place. The inside was a complete mess. I stepped inside. I searched carefully, hoping to find some trace that Hugo had left behind. In the drawer of the bedside table, I found a notebook. It belongs to Colin. It has some messy accounts written in it. There are also some names and phone numbers. One of the names, there, in bold, was Hugo. It was followed by a phone number. It was a perfect match for Hugo's personal number in the company directory. My hands began to tremble. Evidence. This is the evidence. So they did know each other, and what's more, they're deeply connected. The last page of the notebook contains a simple flowchart. It reads fund flow. The starting point is loan. It passes through a few ambiguous names in the middle. The endpoint is a company name, Prosperous Era Investments. I was stunned. Prosperous Era Investments. I know this company. They are our company's biggest competitor. Lately, they've been fiercely competing with us for a major project, and the person in charge of that project is none other than Hugo. You don't say. Hugo used Colin to fraudulently obtain loans with stolen identities to raise funds. Was it to compete with our company? That thought sends a chill down my spine. If that's really the case, Hugo is so incredibly cunning. He didn't just use Colin. He also took advantage of so many innocent girls, myself included. I carefully put the notebook away. I placed it into my bag. I stepped out of the apartment. The night grew darker. I gazed in the direction of the company, a blaze of lights, like a colossal beast, concealing countless secrets. Hugo, what on earth are you trying to do? 9. Holding that notebook, I didn't sleep a wink all night. I kept reading the contents over and over. The fund flow diagram was sketched out in a very rough manner, however. The words Prosperous Age Investment were strikingly clear. What exactly is the relationship between Hugo and Prosperous Age Investment? Is he funneling the money raised from Colin to Prosperous Age Investment? Or perhaps, is he himself a mole that Shingsher Investment planted in our company? The more I think about it, the more terrifying it seems. Early the next morning, I made a copy of the notebook. I've hidden the original. I plan to give the copy to Zoe. She's the director of the marketing department, has a good grasp of the company's situation. Furthermore, she comes across as a trustworthy person. Morning, I knocked on the door to Zoe's office. Zoe, there's something I need to talk to you about. Have a seat. Zoe set down the file in her hands. What is it? I placed the copy in front of her. I found this in Colin's apartment. Zoe picked up the photocopy and examined it carefully, her brow furrowed slightly. Hugo, Prosperity Investments, she said, her voice tinged with surprise. I nodded. I suspect Hugo is using Colin to steal personal information and take out loans, raising funds to funnel benefits to Shingsher Investment and undermine our company. Zoe fell silent for a long time. The office was completely still. Only the hum of the air conditioner filled the silence. Do you have any proof? She asked. This notebook is the proof, I said. It has Hugo's phone number and a diagram of the fund flows. That's not enough. Zoe shook her head. Hugo holds a very high position in the company. Without solid evidence, it's hard to bring him down. Moreover, if this gets out, it will damage the company's reputation. So, we're just supposed to stand by and watch him harm the company's interests. That's not what I meant, Zoe said, looking at me. This is a serious matter. We need to be more careful. So, what do we do? Keep this quiet for now, Zoe said. I'll look into it discreetly. There's a sum of money from the major project Hugo is overseeing that's recently gone unaccounted for. I suspect it's connected to this. All right, I'll keep this copy for now. Okay. I walked out of Zoe's office. I felt a little more at ease. At the very least, I'm not fighting alone anymore. In the days that followed, at the company, a deceptive calm settled in, but I could sense it. An undercurrent was quietly stirring. Zoe became very busy. She was often out of the office. Rumor has it he's working on that major project. Hugo has become unusually low-key. He's rarely seen at the office. You only run into him occasionally. The way he looked at me held a hint of scrutiny. It made me very uncomfortable. I know. He might have already sensed something. I need to be more careful. Friday afternoon, Mia came to find me all of a sudden. She looked very pale. Althea, I think I messed up. What's wrong? I was just in the break room and overheard Vice President Lin on a call. Mia whispered, he said, that money has to be transferred immediately, or it'll be too late. He also mentioned, Xingshire investment. My heart skipped a beat. He's here. What else did he say? He also said, it's all sorted with Colin. There won't be any trouble. It's all sorted with Colin. What does that mean? Seriously, what's he trying to pull on Colin? Mia, don't tell anyone about this, I said. Not your family. Not your friends. I know. Mia nodded, her eyes full of fear. Althea. I'm so scared. Don't be afraid, I said, patting her shoulder. I'm here. After calming Mia down, I went to find Zoe immediately. The door to her office was closed. I knocked on the door. There was no answer. I took out my phone and called her. No one's picking up. A sudden, sinking feeling of dread washed over me. What if something's happened to her? I bolted out of the marketing department. I searched everywhere for Zoe. Finally, I found her in the stairwell. She was curled up in a corner. His face was pale. There was a wound on his forehead. It was bleeding. Zoe. I rushed over and helped her up. What happened? I was attacked. Zoe's voice was weak. Someone took my files. Who? I don't know. Zoe shook her head. It was two masked men. They took the evidence I had gathered on Hugo. My heart sank. Hugo. It had to be him. He's backed into a corner and lashing out. Quick, let me get you to the hospital. No need. Zoe held me back. I'm fine. What matters is the evidence is gone. There's still the original copy I have, I said. Zoe's eyes lit up. Right. Let's go to the police right now. No. Zoe shook her head. Without evidence, going to the police is useless, and it would tip them off. What do we do now? Hugo is after that major project, Zoe said. He stole my files to stop me from tracing his funds. We have to find new evidence before he succeeds. How do we find it? The partner for that major project is a foreign company, Zoe said. Their legal department is very strict. If Hugo used illegal funds to work with them, they would never stand for it. You mean, we can anonymously tell their legal department about Hugo? Zoe said, let them investigate. Will that work? We can only try. 10. Zoe and I found a secluded spot. We scanned the original notebook to create a digital copy. We also organized some of the clues we'd gathered regarding Hugo's fund movements. It was sent anonymously, all together, to the legal department of that foreign company. With that done, we all breathed a sigh of relief. The rest was out of our hands. Monday morning, the office was in an uproar. That foreign company suddenly announced the termination of their partnership with our firm. The reason given was that they suspected our company's source of funds was problematic. As soon as the news broke, the stock price plummeted. The chairman was furious. An investigation team was immediately formed. The focus of the investigation is the major project overseen by Hugo. Hugo has been suspended from his duties. He is now under investigation. The office was buzzing with whispers and speculation. Everyone was trying to guess what had happened. I gazed out the window. The sunlight was harsh and glaring, yet my mind was perfectly calm. It's finally here. What was bound to happen? That afternoon, the police had arrived. They took Hugo away. It said that the legal department of that foreign company filed a police report. Their investigation revealed that the funds Hugo used for the partnership were indeed sourced from illegal loans, and what's more, this also implicates Prosperous Age Investment, so that's how it is. Hugo isn't just a mole that Prosperous Age Investment planted in our company, he's also one of the actual controlling parties behind Prosperous Age Investment. He exploited Colin, using stolen personal information to take out loans and raise funds. On one hand, it was to undermine our company. On the other hand, it was to plug the financial hole at Xingshire Investment. Truly, it was a case of killing two birds with one stone. As a result, there have been new developments in Colin's case, he confessed. Back then, it was Hugo who incited him to take out loans using other people's information. He was merely a pawn in Hugo's hands. They are waiting for them. It will be the full force of the law. The matter has finally been settled. The company's reputation, though it has been affected, but we cut our losses in time. Under the leadership of the new management team, gradually, we regained our strength. Zoe, for her meritorious service in this matter, I was promoted to vice president of the company. She asked to speak with me. Althea, thank you. I just did what I had to do. You're brave. Zoe looked at me, and smart, interested in working on a project with me. I know you've been through a lot, Zoe said, but I believe you have what it takes to do even better. I thought about it. In my past life, I was weak and timid. I was deceived and used by others. In this life, I have faced life and death. I've seen through people's hearts. And I've learned to face it bravely, perhaps. I really can do it. Try to do something different, okay? I nodded. A smile played at the corner of my mouth. Sunlight streams through the window, falling across my face, warm and bright. I know, the gloom of the past has completely lifted. The road ahead is still long, but I am no longer afraid, because I know, I am no longer the Althea from my past life, the one who could be manipulated by anyone. I am Althea, a new Althea, living for herself. The end. Story 2, 5 years ago during summer vacation. My entire family was killed by a Tibetan brown bear. It happened because some college students, hoping to go viral by filming a bear attacking humans, deliberately lured the bear into our home. To protect me, my parents and younger brother were mauled to death one after another by the bear. I narrowly escaped the bear's attack, only to be captured by those students. They crippled me and used me for live streams to make money. For 5 whole years. They made a fortune while I starved to death from malnutrition. When I opened my eyes again, I realized I had been reborn. Just 10 minutes before the Tibetan brown bear attacked our home, I woke up in excruciating pain, only to find myself lying in my own bed at home. The summer homework lay open by the pillow, still dated August 15, 2020. I stared blankly at the familiar room before me. Memories came flooding back like a tidal wave. I would never forget this day. Even if I were turned to dust, exactly 5 years ago, 3 college students who claimed to be geology majors, here to survey the nearby mountains, they knocked on our courtyard gate in the evening, explaining that their car had broken down and repairs would take time. Could they possibly stay the night? 1. Our local community has always been known for its kindness, and helping strangers in need is a common practice here. So without a second thought, my parents warmly welcomed the 3 of them into our home. The 3 of them made themselves right at home, ordering my parents to whip up a meal the moment they stepped through the door. They complained about our backwater town, saying they'd been starving the whole way here. After eating, they started griping that the guest room we'd given up for them wasn't spacious or convenient enough, insisting on switching to a larger one. My parents were taken aback by their rudeness. Yet their inherent decency wouldn't allow them to throw someone out in the dead of night with nowhere to go. Little did we know that single moment of hesitation would lead to our family's horrific demise. That night while we slept, they scattered bait for Tibetan brown bears all around our home. After completing their setup, they coldly walked away, leaving only their pre-positioned hidden cameras behind, waiting to film the gruesome scene of our family being devoured alive by the Tibetan blue bear. My father was the first to notice something wrong. Hearing the commotion, he got up to check the yard. He came face to face with a Tibetan blue bear that had climbed over the wall. The bear roared, pounced on my father, pinned him down with a few swipes, and began eating him alive starting from his abdomen. Dad screamed in agony, fighting through the pain as he shouted to warn us inside the house not to come out. I was jolted awake and saw the scene unfolding in the courtyard from my second-floor window. His intestines spilled across the ground, and when his desperate eyes met mine, he shook his head fiercely. I knew he was telling me not to try to save him. I immediately wanted to find Mom and my younger brother after leaving the room. At that moment, I saw another smaller Tibetan brown bear break in through the back door on the first floor. "The room isn't safe anymore," I shouted. "Mom, little brother, be careful, there's a bear in the house." Just then, I spotted my mother hiding in a blind spot on the first floor, but I had already cried out, and the Tibetan brown bear that had entered the house heard my shout. Turning its gaze toward me, seeing the bear heading my way, my mother's face took on a resolute expression. She grabbed a nearby clothes-drying pole, let out a fierce shout, and charged straight at the bear. However, the thick fur of the Tibetan blue bear made the clothes hanger completely ineffective against it, but that jab managed to get its attention. The bear, which had been heading for the second floor, turned around and charged at my mother instead. With just one swipe, it shattered her skull, and she collapsed lifelessly to the ground. A wave of utter despair washed over me. I retreated to my room, thinking of climbing down from the window to escape to the first floor. 2. I kept telling myself that my parents didn't die in vain. I couldn't give up now. I have to survive. I still have my younger brother. Just then, I saw my brother step out of the storage room on the second floor. The little boy clutched a bundle of hemp rope. I immediately understood and took the rope from him. We hurried into the room, tied one end of the rope to the foot of the bed with a firm knot, and tossed the other end out the window. I wanted my younger brother to climb down the rope first to safety. He was reluctant, insisting that as the man, I should go first. I had no choice but to climb down the rope to the first floor, but just as my younger brother saw I was safe and was about to climb down the rope, the Tibetan brown bear that had just finished eating Mom entered the room on the second floor. It howled and seized my brother's leg, dragging him back with brute force. I could only watch helplessly as the Tibetan brown bear devoured my brother. The successive tragic deaths of my loved ones pushed me to the brink of collapse. Summoning every ounce of strength, I desperately scrambled to escape. The gates swung open, and I saw a glimmer of hope for escape, but what awaited me wasn't freedom, it was a deeper hell. 3 men who had been waiting at the gate smirked sinisterly, seized me, and brutally beat me to the brink of death. I had survived the jaws of a Tibetan brown bear, only to fall prey to the schemes of wicked men. When I woke up again, I found myself in a dimly lit basement. I jolted awake from the memory, my back drenched in cold sweat. I was terrified. I remember watching from the second floor as a Tibetan brown bear devoured my father alive. I happened to glance at the wall clock. It was just past 12:10. The clock hands had just passed 12, and the chime of the bell sent a shiver down my spine. That meant there were less than 10 minutes until the Tibetan brown bear attacked my home. I rolled out of bed and dashed out of the room as fast as I could. My family's house was built with 2 stories. The first floor has a dining hall, a kitchen, and a guest room. The second floor is where our family's bedrooms and the storage room are, one for my parents, one for my younger brother, and one for me. My brother's room is the closest to mine. So I walked over and pressed down on his door handle. Luckily, he hadn't locked the door, so I was able to push it open and step inside. My 8-year-old brother lay fast asleep in bed, gazing at his peaceful, untroubled face as he slept. The memory flashed before my eyes, his final gaze toward me as a Tibetan brown bear mauled him in our past life. Tears welled up in my eyes, but we only have 10 minutes to escape, no time for grief. Fighting back tears, I shook my brother awake. "Ethan, wake up, something's wrong at home." My brother groggily opened his eyes, saw my grave expression, and snapped awake instantly. Always obedient and sensible, he didn't ask questions and quickly jumped out of bed to follow me outside. My parents' room is right at the end of the hallway. When I burst through the door, Dad was already sitting up alertly. "Neva, what's wrong?" I nodded immediately. There was also a wall clock in my parents' room, and I noticed a minute had already passed. There's no time to explain the details of my rebirth, I told my parents. In 9 minutes, 2 Tibetan brown bears that were deliberately lured here will break into our yard and attack us. Our house and the entire yard have been scattered with bait to attract those bears. We have to run right now, or it'll be too late. As soon as I finished speaking, my mother gasped, and my father's face instantly turned pale. Just last month, someone in our village was killed in a Tibetan brown bear attack. So our whole family knows how vicious and terrifying these animals are. My parents immediately stood up and, while heading out the door, asked me, "Neva, but how did you know the Tibetan brown bear was coming?" In a panic, I made up an excuse and said, "It was those 3 college students staying at my place. They deliberately lured the Tibetan brown bear here. I overheard them talking. They're not geology students at all. Just a bunch of influencers trying to film a bear attack video to go viral. They only stayed with us to get us killed." By then, our whole family had already made our way to the lobby on the first floor. My parents looked around and realized that the 3 people in the guest room on the first floor were indeed no longer there. What's more, the floor of the lobby was scattered with foul-smelling chunks of meat, some still with patches of hair attached. My father bent down to examine the meat closely, and his face completely changed. He warned us to stay far away from this meat and avoid getting even a speck of it on us. He stared intently at the chunk of meat and said, "This looks like rotten meat from a Tibetan blue bear cub." No wonder Neva said it could attract them. Tibetan blue bears are fiercely protective of their young and hold grudges. No matter how far away their cubs are, they can track the scent all the way to the location. These people threw chunks of cub meat into our house, trying to drive the Tibetan brown bear into a frenzy and take revenge on our family. Mom stood by, sweating nervously, and said with deep regret, "I had a bad feeling about those 3 from the start. It's my fault for being too soft-hearted and not driving them away. If I had, our family wouldn't be in this mess." Dad said, "This is no time for self-blame. Let's go. We need to get out of here and find a way to gather the villagers to deal with the Tibetan brown bear." So we hurried out of the house in a rush, but when we reached the courtyard gate, we were shocked to find it had been welded shut from the outside. No matter how hard we pushed, it wouldn't budge. Dad immediately turned around and dashed back inside, returning moments later with a hammer. He swung the hammer hard at the door lock, the clang of metal jarringly loud in the silent night, but the courtyard gate was too sturdy, leaving only a few dents around the lock. Our commotion startled the 3 men lying in wait outside the courtyard. Soon, a heated argument erupted outside the door. "What the hell? Did they find us?" A gruff male voice cursed furiously. "Damn it, couldn't they just stay inside and get eaten by the bear? I told you we should have drugged them," a shrill voice retorted. "You said this family was dumb and it wouldn't be necessary. Now look what happened. Stop this useless bickering. Figure something out fast. We can't let our prize slip away now." My parents were absolutely furious upon hearing this. Mom yelled at the courtyard gate, "This is murder. You'll be arrested. I'm calling the police right now. None of you are getting away with this." Dad also shouted sternly, "We kindly let you stay the night, and you repay us by trying to harm us. Have you no conscience? Let us out now, and we'll let this slide." Outside the door, it suddenly fell silent for a few seconds. Then, a voice feigning sincerity spoke up, "All right, we were in the wrong. Don't call the police. We'll find a way to let you out right now." Then came the sound of hurried footsteps fading into the distance. My parents breathed a huge sigh of relief. Mom said, "Thank goodness, they finally came to their senses. As long as they're gone, everything should be fine." Dad nodded in agreement, though his brow remained furrowed. I stared intently at the courtyard gate, wondering to myself, did they really just give up? Are they actually letting us go? 3. Something's not right. A growing sense of unease washed over me. My parents don't really know these 3 people. In my past life, I spent a full 5 years with them. I still remember vividly how brutally they mistreated me, for money. They would stop at nothing. They'd never give up so easily. Thinking of this, I whispered to my parents. I think they agreed too quickly. We should stay on guard, Mom said optimistically. They're probably just scared of getting caught. We're behind a gate. What could they possibly do to us? As soon as Mom finished speaking, we heard footsteps approaching outside the door. One of them shouted to us, "Hang in there. We're going to cut the lock with a chainsaw," Mom said. See, we're finally saved. But as the chainsaw started to whir, I also caught the smell of a foul, fishy odor growing stronger. In an instant, a thought flashed through my mind. I shouted, "Mom, Dad, little brother, get away from the gate." Almost simultaneously, a man with black-rimmed glasses appeared over the wall. He sneered and hurled a large basin of foul-smelling blood at us. Thankfully, my warning made the family step back just in time. Only Mom was a bit slower, and a few drops of blood splattered on her pajamas. Dad immediately told Mom to take off her pajamas and throw them away, then gave her his own shirt to wear. The man with glasses, seeing his plan had failed, spat fiercely and cursed, "Damn it, you got away." Then he let out a sinister chuckle. "Heh, but it's no use hiding. The Zangma bears are coming, and you can't escape. Ha, you fools will be their next meal." With that, he left the courtyard wall. The bespectacled man's words left my younger brother and mother trembling in fear, and my face turned deathly pale. The blood he splashed earlier must have been from a Zangma bear cub. Once it gets on you, the Tibetan brown bear will hunt you down without mercy. There's no escaping death. Dad held us tightly and reassured us, "Don't be scared. I'm here. You'll be safe." Then he glanced at the courtyard wall a few times and told us he'd be right back. Shortly after, Dad brought over 3 chairs and explained the ladder at home was taken away, so we had to stack these chairs to climb over the wall. We quickly sprang into action, my heart clenched as if crushed by an invisible fist. Since my younger brother was the smallest and lightest, we decided he should go first after placing the chairs at the corner of the wall. Once he stepped onto the first chair, Dad carefully stacked the second one on top. My younger brother shakily climbed onto the stack and took the third chair from Dad to add to the pile. Time was running out by the time he finally reached the top. The Tibetan brown bear would arrive in less than 2 minutes. I urged my brother, "We're out of time. Hurry up." My brother nodded and was about to climb over the wall, but the moment he got a clear look at it, his face went pale. He turned back and said to us, "The wall, it's covered in blood. We'll get it all over us if we climb over." Our house stood alone at the foot of the mountain, a half-hour walk from the village along a mountain path. It was built here years ago so that my father could work more conveniently as a forest ranger. For miles around, ours is the only house standing. If you're carrying the scent of a Tibetan blue bear cub, there's no escaping its tracking through these exposed mountain woods. What do we do? Even if we were reborn, would our family still be doomed to be devoured alive by the Tibetan blue bear? Just then, a beast's roar echoed from the distant mountain forest. My younger brother pointed in terror toward the distance. "Something's coming. It's so fast." My blood ran cold, and my heart felt like it was about to leap out of my chest. I knew it. The Tibetan blue bear was coming. We couldn't escape through the courtyard gate, and there was nowhere to hide inside the house. 2 Tibetan brown bears were already charging toward our home. Our wall was nothing but a low fence to them. They could leap over it in an instant, once they got into the yard. Our whole family would be sitting ducks, just waiting to be torn apart. A flicker of panic crossed Father's face, but he quickly regained his composure. He took a deep breath and lowered his voice. "Listen carefully. Back when I worked as a forest ranger, I had to watch out for large predators. What I know about Tibetan blue bears is that they have an exceptional sense of smell, especially those that have tasted human flesh. They become extremely sensitive to the scent of humans. But precisely because their sense of smell is so sharp, we can actually use stronger scents to mask our own, like animal droppings." Dad pointed toward the chicken coop in the yard and motioned for us to follow him. He scooped up a handful of chicken manure from the ground and smeared it all over his face, then onto his bare arms and legs. He even took off his outer clothes and rubbed them repeatedly in the manure until they were completely soiled. "Quick, do exactly as I do." We didn't dare waste a moment, smearing the foul-smelling chicken manure all over our bodies while fighting the urge to gag. To make sure he was thoroughly coated, my little brother even stripped down and rolled around in the manure. Soon enough, reeking to high heaven, the lot of us hurried back inside after our father. The moment we stepped inside, Dad grabbed a hammer and made a beeline for the kitchen. "I'm going to find something. You all throw the chunks of meat out of the house." We sprang into action right away, using rags to protect our hands as we tossed each foul-smelling piece of meat out the window. After we finished, a sudden idea struck me. I grabbed the barrel of barley wine by the dining table and splashed it all around the doors and windows. Alcohol has a pungent odor and is highly flammable. It not only blocks odors but can also be ignited when necessary to deter the Tibetan blue bear. Just then, a massive bear's head suddenly appeared over the courtyard wall, its glowing green eyes locked with mine, and the hatred in its gaze sent a chill down my spine. I slammed the door shut, and Mom and my younger brother quickly locked all the windows. "Hurry, use the dining table to barricade the door," I shouted. Together, we pushed the heavy wooden dining table against the door. Just as we finished, Dad emerged from the kitchen. He was actually holding a hunting rifle in his hands. "I hid this back when I was a forest ranger," Dad explained, wiping the sweat from his forehead. "Not much ammo left, and who knows if it's even still dry." Just then, a dull thud echoed from outside the courtyard wall. 2 Tibetan brown bears had climbed over the wall, through the crack in the window. I saw the larger one stood over 2 meters tall, while the smaller one was about the size of a grown man. In my past life, it was these 2 beasts that devoured my family alive. Now they're back. I can hear their heavy breathing even through the walls. Right now, they're lowering their heads, sniffing the ground. It began sniffing around the yard, slyly following the scent. The footsteps of 2 Tibetan blue bears lingered outside the house. Suddenly, one of them stopped at the door, staring intently at it, its wet nose pressed up against the door crack, sniffing vigorously. Our entire family froze in place, barely even breathing. I could hear my own heart pounding violently. At that moment, every move the Tibetan brown bear made outside the house seemed unusually clear. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. I held my breath, silently praying that the ones at the door wouldn't discover me. The sudden loud noise made my younger brother jump in fright. It was a Tibetan blue bear slamming its paw against the door. It seemed enraged, pounding the door again and again with all its might. The heavy door groaned under the strain, its hinges protesting with a sharp creak. In an instant, a large dent caved inward. I thought in despair, had the stench of chicken manure we'd used to mask our scent done nothing at all? At that critical moment, the pounding on the door abruptly ceased. The heavy footsteps gradually faded into the distance, seemingly heading toward the chicken coop. I threw a clean undershirt into the chicken coop, my younger brother whispered, his voice trembling with the shock of a narrow escape. I figured since they're so sensitive to human scent, maybe the shirt would distract them. I ruffled his hair firmly and praised him. "You're a genius." My brother managed a weak smile. "You're always complaining about how much I sweat in the summer, sis. Who knew my stench could actually save the day?" I gave him a playful pat with a laugh. After a brief sigh of relief, the gloom of the Tibetan brown bear still lurking outside once again clouded my heart. Our family is now like rats trapped in a barrel. Even if we can keep misleading the Tibetan brown bear, it will eventually find a way to break in. What could we possibly do when the time comes? Could Father's hunting rifle really take down 2 bears of that enormous size? My mind raced, desperately searching for a way to escape. Suddenly, memories from my past life came flooding back. When I escaped the bear and rushed to the courtyard gate, I found it had been opened from the outside, and those 3 people were all stationed not far from the entrance. Does this mean that, even now, they're still hiding somewhere safe, just beyond the courtyard gate? They actually dared to lure the Tibetan brown bear here. Those 3 must be confident they won't get mauled and eaten by the Tibetan brown bears. In other words, this might be our only way out of this predicament. It's not about hiding indoors and trying to outlast the bear's patience. We need to get those 3 to open the gate so we can make a break for it. Under what circumstances would they actually open the gate? Based on my past life experience, those 3 only considered approaching after confirming we were under attack by Tibetan brown bears. During those 5 years locked in the basement, I overheard their drunken conversations. They had agreed from the very beginning to always leave at least one survivor, and this survivor would become a major source of profit for their sensationalist schemes. So back then, anyone who happened to survive would be captured and maimed by them. At that thought, I urgently asked my mom, "Mom, where's the electronic speaker at home?" Though puzzled, Mom still fished out a small electronic speaker from the TV cabinet drawer and handed it to me. I took the speaker and quickly recorded a message. My parents and younger brother all looked astonished. I then quickly explained my idea to my parents in simple terms, though they still had doubts about whether it would actually work. "But now that we're trapped inside, if we don't do something, we'll just be waiting here to die." Dad was the first to give the green light, then followed my instructions, grabbing the recorded bullhorn and heading up to the 2nd floor. Back when he worked as a forest ranger, his marksmanship was second to none. I managed to hurl the loudspeaker precisely to the courtyard entrance. I directed my mother and younger brother to spring into action in the hall as well. We tore down the curtains and cut them into 4 large pieces, each big enough to cover a person from head to toe. Then we brought over the remaining half bucket of barley wine and soaked the fabric pieces thoroughly. "We'll drape this over ourselves and make a run for it," I explained while working The smell of alcohol should throw the Tibetan blue bear off our scent temporarily. With everything set, the three of us took our positions behind the door, keeping an eye on the bear's movements in the yard. We waited for Dad to come down from the second floor. Soon after, I heard a loud thud at the gate. Then came my desperate cries, clearly audible from behind the courtyard gate. "Help, please, someone help me. My whole family is dead. Save me. Ah, the bear is coming closer. No." I bit my lip nervously, hoping this trick would work. Fortunately, within seconds, I saw sparks flickering from the lock on the courtyard gate. Dad hurried downstairs. The four of us draped ourselves in the reeking curtains, held our breath behind the door, and waited for the perfect moment. After the chainsaw's persistent drone, the courtyard gate was flung open. A bespectacled man stood behind the gate, holding a stun button. But when he saw it was just an electronic speaker on the ground, his expression froze in an instant. "No," I yelled, shoving the door open. Our family shot toward the courtyard gate like arrows released from a bow. The Tibetan blue bear in the yard was startled, noticing the commotion. Its massive body turned toward us, nostrils flaring wildly, but the pungent smell of alcohol mixed with our lingering chicken dung odor threw them into momentary confusion. The bespectacled man snapped to his senses and cursed, "Shit, we've been tricked." He immediately tried to shut the courtyard gate to trap us inside again, but there was no way we'd let this only chance to escape slip away. Dad threw off the curtain draped over his shoulders and swiftly raised the shotgun. With a loud gunshot, the bullet struck the bespectacled man's knee with pinpoint accuracy. The man with glasses let out a pained cry and collapsed to his knees. Dad exclaimed excitedly, "Thank goodness the bullet didn't get damp." Meanwhile, the other two outside the courtyard also heard the commotion. They were standing not far away, next to a camouflage-painted RV. The vehicle's reinforced exterior clearly showed signs of specialized modifications. It looked incredibly sturdy. This must be where the three of them have been hiding out safely. Seeing the bespectacled man fall while our entire family emerged alive and rushed out of the courtyard, the two of them instantly panicked. He turned to flee toward the RV. Dad raised the gun again, threatening them to stop. One of the tattooed men halted, shouting, "Don't shoot, don't shoot." But the moment he turned around, he actually pulled out a handgun. "Get down," I heard my father roar. We hit the deck just as bullets whizzed past our heads. The tattooed man, enraged by his miss, fired two more shots with a vicious snarl, but he fired too hastily. The bullets whizzed past us, leaving two smoking holes in the ground. Click, click. The tattooed man tried to fire again, but the hammer fell on an empty chamber. He was out of ammo. Seizing the fleeting opportunity, Dad steadily raised his shotgun. The tattooed man's knee erupted in a spray of blood, and he let out a piercing, agonized scream before collapsing to the ground, clutching his leg. Just then, an ear-splitting roar echoed through the courtyard. Two Tibetan brown bears, enraged by the gunshot, were charging toward the RV at an alarming speed. The blonde-haired man turned pale and leaped into the driver's seat in a flash, shouting, "Shit, they're coming this way." Before he could even close the door, the RV lurched forward. With lightning reflexes, Dad raised his gun and took aim. The RV's rear tire burst with a bang, causing it to tilt and slow down instantly. The guy with bleached hair inside screamed, "We're all dead if this thing breaks down." We seized the moment the RV came to a stop and scrambled aboard in a hurry. No sooner had I gotten on than I heard a blood-curdling scream from behind. Looking back, I saw the bespectacled man by the courtyard gate being taken down by two Tibetan blue bears. The larger one smashed his skull with a single swipe of its paw. The creature was tearing open his abdomen with its sharp fangs, pulling his bloody intestines far out. The surviving tattooed man, dragging his injured leg, desperately scrambled backward, his pants soaked through, his face etched with despair. He looked at me, pleading, "Help, save me, please don't leave me behind." I stared intently at his terrified, twisted face, and in my mind flashed the memory of my family's death in the previous life, how he had watched them die the same way. "He's brought all of this on himself." I slammed the car door shut. "Karma's a bitch," I said coldly. The guy with the dyed hair stomped on the gas, sending the blown tire RV lurching forward erratically. In the rear-view mirror, the tattooed man's screams were abruptly cut short. The still hungry Tibetan brown bear fixed its gaze on him, then sank its teeth into his throat. Our family huddled inside the RV, with my dad pointing a hunting rifle at the blonde man's head, threatening him to drive faster. The blonde man cursed under his breath while stomping on the accelerator. The terrifying part was that the damaged tire kept the RV from picking up speed. "Shit, I've lost control of the car." The blonde man suddenly screamed in panic. The RV then charged straight toward a tree trunk on the roadside like a runaway horse. "Bail out." Dad made a snap decision and yanked the door open. We had just tumbled to the roadside when we heard a deafening boom. My heart sank to the depths. The RV slammed into the tree trunk, and the front end instantly crumpled. The guy with the dyed hair was trapped in the driver's seat, his face covered in blood, even more terrifying. The two Tibetan blue bears weren't satisfied after devouring the tattooed man. they began charging toward the rest of us. Run this way. Dad pointed to the steep slope not far away, which was densely planted with a protective forest. Tibetan brown bears are huge. They move much slower in this kind of forest. With that, we desperately ran deeper into the woods. But how could a human possibly outrun a Tibetan brown bear? The heavy footsteps behind me grew closer, and I could even smell that foul stench mixed with the scent of blood. At the critical moment, Dad suddenly turned around, aiming his hunting rifle at the lead Tibetan brown bear's eye. The bullet hit the bear's eye with precision, and it let out an ear-splitting roar of pain, halting its pursuit for the moment. Climb the tree, now, Dad shouted. Fortunately, my brother and I grew up in these woods, so climbing trees is second nature to us. Almost instinctively, we scrambled up the nearest tree in a flash. Mom was a bit slower. Just as she was about to reach a branch, a bear's paw swiped at her. Ack! Mom screamed in agony as a chunk of flesh was torn from her calf. Honey! Dad's eyes widened with fury as he fired another shot. The bullet struck the Tibetan blue bear's shoulder, causing it only to stagger momentarily. All four of us barely managed to climb the tree. But the danger was far from over. The two Tibetan blue bears began taking turns ramming the tree trunk, shaking the sturdy tree violently with their brute force. This can't go on. Dad checked his hunting rifle with a grim expression. We're down to the last bullet. My little brother clung tightly to the tree trunk, his face pale. Sis, are we going to die? I was about to comfort him when I suddenly heard sirens in the distance. It's the patrol. Mother gave a weak smile. Fortunately, I had called the police while I was still inside the house. I knew they might take a while to arrive, but at least there was hope. Over here, help, we shouted in unison. The sound of sirens grew closer, accompanied by chaotic footsteps and shouts. Several fully armed police officers came into view, and upon spotting the Tibetan blue bear under the tree, they immediately raised their weapons. Bang, bang. The deafening gunshots echoed through the mountain forest. The Tibetan blue bear, startled by the gunfire, retreated temporarily. Immediately after, the officers fired tranquilizer darts. Whoosh! 2 tranquilizer darts hit the Tibetan blue bear with pinpoint accuracy. The massive bear swayed for a moment before collapsing to the ground with a thunderous crash. We're saved. My legs were still trembling as I climbed down from the tree. Medical staff immediately bandaged Mom's wounds while the officers began questioning us about the incident. Those 3 people, Dad gestured toward the wreckage of the RV as he explained the situation to the police. Soon after, an officer reported finding 2 mutilated bodies and 1 critically injured individual. The blonde-haired man was already on the brink of death when they carried him over on a stretcher. His eyes flashed with hatred as he saw us. You're still alive, the officer said coldly. You're under arrest for attempted murder. Our family got into the police car, as they said they needed to gather more information. On the way back, the police car's radio was broadcasting the news. Reportedly, 3 internet celebrities deliberately provoked a bear to attack people for clout, resulting in 2 fatalities and 1 critically injured. I looked at my family members, safe and sound beside me, and whispered with relief, thank goodness, it's all over now. 3 months later, the municipal intermediate court was packed to capacity. Our family sat in the plaintiff seats, watching the yellow-haired man being escorted in by the bailiff. One of his legs had been amputated, and his face bore the gruesome scars left by severe injuries. All rise. With the court clerk's announcement, the judge entered the courtroom solemnly. The prosecutor read the indictment with resounding force. Defendant Zhang, in a bid to gain online notoriety, conspired with 2 deceased suspects to orchestrate this horrifying live-streamed incident of a Tibetan brown bear mauling a person. During the trial, the blonde-haired man initially tried to weasel his way out, claiming it was merely an accident, but when the prosecutor presented the chat logs and videos saved on his phone, his lies were completely exposed. Your Honor, my father spoke as the victim's representative, his voice choked with emotion. If it weren't for my daughter's quick thinking, our entire family would have been. The judge then delivered the verdict in court. Defendant Zhang, having been found guilty of intentional homicide and endangering public safety, is hereby sentenced to life imprisonment with the combined penalties for multiple crimes, and is permanently deprived of political rights. The gallery erupted in enthusiastic applause. I tightly held my family's hands, tears glistening in all our eyes. The sunlight was blindingly bright as I stepped out of the courthouse. In this lifetime, I finally protected my family. Story 2. I am the Wolf Clan's healer, and the red beans I plant emit an aphrodisiac scent when mixed with wolf blood. I noticed your recent mood seemed off. It turns out you knew about me and Lyra. Don't worry, the queen's position will always be yours. She said she only wishes to be a rabbit in my forest and won't compete for anything. The world knows the Wolf King remains utterly devoted to me. Stop plotting against her in secret. He once vowed to keep his pure body intact until our wedding night to give it wholly to me. I laughed. He was so convinced that I'd poisoned Lyra after learning the truth, yet I saw the bridal chamber's window wide open, the bed strewn with blood-stained red beans. Crosby, I'm a healer, I don't harm people. If you don't believe me, so be it. The Wolf King exhausted his strength to dote on the rabbit spirit Lyra for 3 days, and that's no ordinary red bean, it's the life-saving red lotus that Ember painstakingly cultivated for you. He broke his promise and harmed his own body just to pamper the rabbit spirit. The wounds you sustained on the battlefield will never fully heal, only the unique fragrance of the red lotus from these wastelands can maintain your health. Yet you're determined to destroy it all. Ember's years of devotion might as well have been wasted on an ungrateful soul. The wedding is imminent, but I no longer wish to proceed. In his anger, the master completely forgot about maintaining proper decorum. Clutching my aching heart, I ran to the deepest part of the forest, begging the shaman to open a barrier and send me to the wasteland. Crosby listened with reddened eyes, barely able to stand as his body swayed unsteadily. The Wolf King didn't know I was originally the little princess of the wilderness, and now I want to go back. By the time I reappeared at the shaman's place, it was already the 2nd year in the outside world. The divine shaman asked me if I had no regrets. The moment my feet touched the ground, a gaunt wolf came staggering from the distance, exerting all its strength to transform into human form. I raised my tear-streaked face and shook my head firmly. White Branch instantly hid in my arms in fright. The divine shaman sighed. Ember, I'm scared. 5 days later, I'll be waiting for you here. Ember, I was wrong. Can you come back to me? 2 years have passed, and I've regretted it every single moment. I've also killed Lyra. No one can come between us anymore. After speaking, he gave White Branch a threatening glare. The rabbit maid told me the Wolf King summoned me to the palace, saying there's a surprise. I smiled faintly and with a slight wave of my hand. Crosby was sent tumbling to the ground, unable to get up no matter how hard he tried. Truthfully, I don't need any surprises. I only hope the Wolf King remains constant. Crosby, that night at the Rabbit Clan's residence, I gave you your last chance, yet you wouldn't even share one final drink with me. You were the one who severed our bond, but reality slapped me hard. When I arrived at the courtyard that was soon to be mine, everything was eerily quiet. Happiness is mine. Endless regret belongs to others. The soft, melodious moans poured directly into my ears. From this moment on, I long only for my beloved's enduring devotion, that we may pledge eternal love through the endless passage of time. The rabbit tribe has always been delicate, yet Crosby indulged Lyra for 3 full days. The END. I stood frozen outside the door for who knows how long, my body stiff, my mind screaming to flee, yet unable to move an inch, when Lyra was pressed against the window. She glanced at my stunned self and curled her lips into a smirk. The disdain in his eyes was unmistakable. Then she reached out and covered Crosby's eyes. Your Highness, shall we try a different game? Crosby could see nothing, and realizing Lyra's intention, his body tensed even more. What a vexing little minx. I've truly fallen into your hands. Lyra pushed her luck, grabbing a nearby belt to cover Crosby's eyes. Then turning to look at me, she provocatively kissed Crosby's lips. So tell me, Your Highness, am I better or is Ember? Crosby warned her to watch her words, yet she responded with a bewitching smile. What status do you have to dare compare yourself to the future queen? But when it comes to matters of the bed, who could rival you? You've stirred such longing in this king. After Ember enters the palace, I shall grant you the status of a court lady, so you may attend to me night after night. I staggered 2 steps back and collapsed to the ground, trembling all over. He actually still wanted to keep her hidden by his side after marriage. At this moment, it felt like 1,000 knives were stabbing my heart, leaving it bloody and torn. If we hadn't loved each other deeply, seeing Crosby's betrayal wouldn't have hurt me so much. Now standing outside what was supposed to be our marital home, I know the rabbit spirit Lyra deliberately led me here. On the way here, I was still hoping for a pleasant surprise. The townsfolk on the streets, the maids accompanying me, the guards in the Wolf Palace, they were all congratulating me, Miss Ember. You're so fortunate. The Wolf King has been preparing for this wedding for 3 years. What greater proof of his love could there be? These century-enduring red love peas are the evidence. Tell me, who else could make an entire city bloom with eternal love peas that never wither? Of course it's our Wolf King. I met Crosby on the battlefield when I went to gather herbs in the mountains and happened to save him. In the Ashen War Zone. All he could see was the bunch of red beans in my hand and me. His eyes were injured in battle, and from then on, I became the only color he could see. We fell in love. He was the Wolf King, and I was the Wolf Physician's apprentice. For 3 years, I could find my way to the palace blindfolded. Every time I went to see him, even the wind felt joyful. I've waited for him for 3 years, finally reaching the day we're about to wed. But this time, the wind left me battered and bruised. Lyra inside the house screamed again. Your Highness, we've stained Ember's wedding dress. Crosby fumbled for a moment before draping the wedding dress over Lyra, his teasing grin widening. In that case, let our little sprite wear it. Consider you marrying me first. Hearing these words, I could no longer hold back, clutching my aching heart as I ran frantically into the deepest part of the forest. That was where the divine shaman resided. I begged him all night. pleading for the shaman to open the barrier and send me to the wasteland. The divine shaman was shocked. But Ember, you're about to marry the Wolf King Crosby. From what I know, he loves you deeply and would die without you. Are you really decided? Once the barrier opens, it won't open again for another 10 years, he added. Even if you return after 10 years, everything will have changed. But now, everything has already changed. I wiped away my tears and nodded firmly. The divine shaman sighed in agreement. 5 days later, I'll be waiting for you here, too. After completing all this, I felt completely drained of energy. Upon returning to my master's home, I fell seriously ill and couldn't get up. When Crosby found out, he rushed over immediately, his unpleasant odor invading my nostrils. I tilted my head slightly. He tenderly took my hand and pressed it against his cheek. His eyes filled with heartache and exhaustion. Ember, how did you suddenly fall ill? Were the servants not attentive enough? I'll replace them with more competent ones for you. Just as I was about to refuse, he summoned 2 maids from outside, one of whom was Lyra. The blush on her face hadn't yet faded, and she carried the same scent as Crosby, yet now she stood before me bowing properly. The pain in my heart suddenly intensified, and I couldn't suppress a coughing fit. Crosby was so anxious he felt helpless. Rising to his feet to summon the royal physician, Lyra stepped forward, gently reminding Crosby in a soft voice, Your Majesty, have you forgotten? Ember is a healer herself. She's likely exhausted from pre-wedding preparations. My family's home outside the city has pleasant scenery, ideal for recuperation. Why not let Ember rest there for a few days? Crosby stared at her coldly. Who allowed you to speak without the master's permission? Lyra fell to her knees with a thud, her delicate body trembling slightly. After calming down for a while, I glanced at them, feeling even colder in my heart. I won't go. I'm waiting at home for my master to return. There are only a few days left. I want to properly say goodbye to master when he returns. After all, we won't see each other for 10 years in the future. I thought Crosby would, as usual, unconditionally agree with my decision, but this time, he gently coaxed me, yet his words left no room for refusal. Ember, Lyra is right. You've been tired for too long. It's time to go out and relax. I've been too busy to take care of you usually. Please listen to me. Okay, he said. The red bean plants outside the city were even more beautiful, carefully nurtured by him as a symbol of his love for me. His words made my heart tremble. Crosby didn't know no red bean plant blooms forever, and those plants weren't even real red beans to begin with. On the day we left the city, Crosby personally carried me down from the carriage. Lyra followed behind like the other maids. Yet I still noticed something different. While the other maids wore plain fabrics, Lyra's garments were luxurious. While the others carried heavy loads, Lyra held a scented handkerchief, her forehead slightly glistening with sweat. Crosby summoned the guards, and after giving an order, Lyra was taken away. Just as I tried to see which direction she went, Crosby directed my attention elsewhere. When I saw the vast field of red beans, I was still stunned. Crosby was very satisfied with my expression. He wrapped his arms around my waist from behind. Ember, whatever you like, I'll make sure you get it. Looking into the distance, the red beans indeed stretched endlessly, but the more I looked, the more alarmed I became, because surrounded by this red are not just us, but also the dwellings of the entire rabbit clan. Rabbits fear beasts of prey. After Crosby accidentally discovered that the red beans I planted could repel them, he transplanted them to the rabbits' territory, using my beloved possession to protect his woman outside. Such love truly chills the heart. Not long after keeping me company, the guard who escorted Lyra away returned. He whispered something to Crosby, whose face immediately changed dramatically. He had someone escort me to the rabbit clan. Ember, you go ahead and rest with the rabbit clan servants first. I have urgent matters to attend to and will join you shortly. Just as well, I didn't want to be part of his affectionate act anyway. After he left, the carriage taking me swayed its way toward the rabbit clan. Halfway there, I called to stop the carriage, saying I wanted to walk on my own. No one dared to disobey my wishes. I turned back and returned to the spot where I had parted ways with Crosby to take a look. Unseen by anyone, I had left medicinal powder on Crosby earlier. Wherever he goes, I can track him. Indeed, amidst the red bean bushes, Lyra was crying pitifully, her face streaked with tears. Your Highness, my foot hurt so much. She extended her fair and slender ankle, which was slightly reddened but otherwise unharmed, as her skirt was lifted higher and higher. Crosby's eyes grew red with desire. He pulled Lyra into his embrace, his voice hoarse. Just this once, if you dare disturb me and Ember again, don't blame me for punishing you. Lyra smiled and wrapped her arms around his neck. Then your Highness should punish me properly right now. The corner of her eye glanced at me, her words challenging me. Look, he chose me. This time, I was mentally prepared and didn't feel much sorrow, turning to leave immediately. Only, it's a pity for those crushed longings. Once something is dirty or broken, it can never be picked up again. 3. The rabbit folk don't treat me with the same kindness as the townspeople. From the moment I stepped through the gate, their hostility toward me became apparent. Ember, your room is at the southernmost end, spacious and quiet, perfect for a sickly one like you. By the way, you must never go to the east wing, that's where our Lady Lyra resides, though she serves as your maid in the palace. Here in our household, she is the true mistress in our hearts, telling me not to go, yet deliberately leading me past it, just to flaunt the rare flowers and jewels Crosby bestowed upon Lyra. So besides me, Crosby has given Lyra special treatment too. By the time Crosby returned, the sky had already darkened. I've prepared wine and dishes on the stone table in the courtyard, and my mood improved a bit while gazing at that full moon. This is our last full moon together. I thought we might as well treat it as a farewell dinner. Crosby came running over in pleasant surprise. Ember, you're looking much better. That girl Lyra was right, this really is a wonderful place, I should reward her properly. The fire in my heart was instantly extinguished again. I looked at him indifferently. Crosby, since when has every third word out of your mouth been about Lyra? Seeing my expression suddenly turn cold, Crosby froze for a moment before panic flashed in his eyes. He crouched down and looked up at me. Ember, I was wrong to mention other women in front of you. Please don't be angry. The mighty Wolf King now lowering his stance just to please me, but this kind of belated sweetness is truly nauseating. I poured myself a glass of wine without a word. He stared blankly at the moon. Ember, do you remember the days we watched the full moon together at the highest point in the mountains? Crosby was reminiscing, pouring wine for me with his free hand, but before he could finish speaking, a panicked maid rushed in from outside. Oh no, Your Highness the Wolf King. Something has happened to Miss Lee. The wine spilled. The maid blurted out Lyra's name but was silenced by Crosby's glare. But how could I not know? This time, I first held onto Crosby's hand that wanted to leave. Crosby, can you not go anywhere tonight? He looked at the anxious girl, then at the hope in my eyes. Finally, he held me tightly. Ember, the moon has just risen. The night is long, and we have plenty of time. Wait for me. He didn't dare to look at me again and fled in panic. The maid turned back and gave me a mocking smile. But Crosby, we won't have long nights anymore, and there's no time left between us, for I rushed back to the city overnight because my master had returned. He knew I was leaving and hurried back to celebrate my birthday with me. When I saw my master, the emotions I had suppressed for so long burst forth, and I cried for a long time. My master is a wolf doctor, skilled in treating all kinds of difficult and complicated illnesses, even now. You hold me while wiping away tears. Oh, Ember, your master possesses all these skills yet cannot heal your heartbreak. Woo-woo. I was amused by this little old man, feeling slightly relieved. He looked at the empty room and asked the same question as the divine priest. Ember, are you really decided? I've sorted out everything about me and Crosby, and won't take a single item related to him. Crosby would never forget my birthday. He started preparing to host guests a month in advance. Due to time constraints, I acted willfully and informed everyone 2 days ago that the birthday celebration would be moved up. When Crosby rushed back, it was still early. He patted his chest and gave me an indulgent smile. You little rascal, sneaking away like that. Were you angry, and moving your birthday celebration ahead without telling me? Good thing I made it in time. After the wedding, I'll have to properly punish you. Punishment, like what he did to Lyra. I shivered. He immediately called for someone to bring clothes, but I calmly said it wasn't necessary. I glanced at the sun. It was still early before noon. After changing into a fresh set of clothes, Crosby came out and took me around the courtyard, reminiscing about the past. He said, Ember, thank you for saving me. My life gained vitality because of you, perhaps sensing my low spirits these past 2 days. His arms tightened around me again and again. Ember, no matter what happens, please don't leave me. Okay, you can hit me, scold me, but I only beg you to never leave. That would be the cruelest punishment for me. I forced a bitter smile. The crowd saw us embracing in the garden and began to tease and laugh. Look, His Majesty is acting spoiled again. Only Ember can make the king so infatuated. The banquet hadn't started yet, but the subjects gathered around to wish me a happy birthday. Crosby also pulled out a box from behind. The crowd gasped in astonishment. Ah, this is the Queen's wedding dress. Good heavens, brides traditionally embroider their own gowns. Who would have thought the king had already prepared one for Ember long ago? Yet I staggered back 3 steps, clutching my chest and panting heavily. That day in the palace bridal chamber, the obscene scene of him and Lyra using my wedding dress as bedding kept flashing through my mind. Crosby put down the box and anxiously asked me what was wrong. At this moment, Rabbit tribe guards came running to the door. He suddenly knelt on the ground to report, Your Majesty, something terrible has happened with the Rabbit tribe. Lady Lyra has been poisoned. Crosby suddenly released my hand that he had just grasped, staring at the newcomer in shock. What did you say? Have they found the culprit? The guard produced a white branch with red beans, timidly directing his gaze toward me. Suddenly I realized that Lyra had stolen the white branched red beans from my courtyard and even framed me for it. Confusion welled up in Crosby's eyes as he asked with a trembling voice, Ember, these white-branched red beans only grow in your courtyard. You said they're highly poisonous yourself. Lyra is just a little rabbit. There's no need for you to harm her. I stared at him in disbelief. Crosby, you're doubting me for another woman. There was an unreadable emotion flashing in Crosby's eyes. Finally, he sighed, Ember, you know Lyra is mine now. I won't say anything more about the rest. The exhaustion in my heart outweighs the pain. I no longer want to prove anything for myself. Time will tell everything. Crosby thought I had compromised, and he strode away. The master rushed in at this moment, grabbing his sleeve while panting heavily. Your Majesty, please stay. Today is Ember's birthday. And hereafter, the master wanted to say there would be no more chances hereafter, but Crosby waved his hand to stop the master from continuing. Ember, you can fool around all you want normally, but please don't make a scene this time. Birthdays come every year, but there's only one Lyra. I can't just abandon her. Besides, this is your fault. You hurt someone. I never thought jealousy could make you so twisted. Ember, don't make me lose faith in you. With that, he actually cut his sleeve and turned to leave. He issued an order before leaving. Summon someone to cut down all the red bean plants in the city. Consider this my punishment for Ember, and also a way to answer to the rabbit tribe. I stared blankly at the tattered cloth fragments on the ground, my heart ashen with despair. Crosby didn't know that red beans were never something I liked. This was meant to save his life. The crimson hues filling the city weren't red beans at all, but priceless wilderness red lotuses. Sadly, with the red lotuses destroyed, his fate too approaches its end. Raising my head again, I smiled at the crowd. Friends, tonight Ember won't let anyone leave sober. This is the final farewell. I'm leaving now. 5, at midnight, the barrier of the wasteland will open. My master alone accompanied me to the forest. I dislike goodbyes, so I left without looking back. Not even a single bundle on their person. The master was deeply grieved. Ember, it was my fault for not taking better care of you, letting you suffer such grievances. You're the little princess of the wilderness. It's the wolf clan that's unlucky, unable to keep you. The time was almost up when the shaman suddenly appeared, frowning at me. Ember, if you leave, the wolf king will die. Don't you care anymore? I don't care anymore. I said I'm ready. Please, great shaman, send me in. The shaman sighed, saying love truly is the most elusive thing in this world. Some die for love, some part for love. I do believe true love exists in this world, but I simply lack the fortune to have found it. The divine priest raised his hand, enveloping me in a white radiance. The moment the light flashed, I saw Crosby on horseback not far in the forest. He held the unharmed Lyra in his arms, the two riding together through the woods admiring the scenery. Their occasional kisses no longer stung my eyes. I was surprised to find that my heart no longer ached for him. Crosby seemed to sense something, his gaze suddenly turning toward the forest. That's where the divine shaman resides. Why is there such intense white light? As he spoke, he even shielded his eyes with his hand. The local man leading the horse beside him solved his confusion. Your Majesty may not know that white light is a barrier opened by the divine shaman to send people to the wasteland. It seems someone is going to the wasteland today. Crosby was somewhat surprised. The wasteland. That wasteland where the barrier only opens once every 10 years. As he spoke, seemingly struck by a sudden thought, he turned his horse around and was about to rush over to see. Lyra quickly grabbed hold of him. Don't go, Your Majesty. I'm scared. If you leave, Lyra's heart aches so much. Ember's poison is too cruel. I feel terrible. With the delicate beauty in his arms, he reconsidered and let it be. The horse hadn't gone far when scattered objects by the roadside caught his attention. Those were all things I discarded, finding them too troublesome to carry, so I threw them by the roadside when nearing the shaman's place. They were all items I used daily, tainted with Crosby's presence, and I no longer wanted them. Crosby dismounted and picked up a string of red bean bracelets, his hands trembling. Suddenly, he raised his head and ran forward a distance, gazing toward the white light, his wide-open eyes seemingly able to penetrate the radiance and discern my appearance. I smiled faintly, grateful that today I was wearing a plain moon-white outfit. Otherwise, he might have truly seen me, but just for that fleeting moment, Crosby suddenly charged forward like a madman. No, Ember, he shouted my name, tears falling behind him with the wind. I was somewhat surprised. Wasn't he colorblind, unable to distinguish colors? In the end, the master shook his head. Crosby can't see colors, but no matter what color you wear, he can recognize you. I see, but it's too late now. The barrier is about to close. Looking at his wretched state, my heart remained unmoved, resolutely turned and walked away. His desperate roar echoed through the forest, but it was too late. I was already in the wilderness, yet I didn't notice that a little creature had followed me. 6. The wilderness wasn't desolate. The people made their living by growing medicinal herbs, and my parents were their rulers. This land was brimming with spiritual energy and medicinal plants. Which was why my father exhausted his efforts to establish a barrier. Unlike the wolf tribe, one day here equals a year in their realm, so in my father's eyes, I've only been away for a few days. After returning home, my father allowed me back to my fiefdom, letting me grow herbs and pursue my interests freely. When I received my master's letter, it was the second day here, the wolf tribe's second year. The master said, "Ember, Crosby is dying. He's been guarding the barrier's location without eating or drinking, waiting for you to come out." I burned the master's letter with medicinal herbs as in the past. Everything about Crosby appeared before my eyes. It turns out that on the day I left, Crosby recognized me in the white light. He both threatened and begged the shaman to open the barrier, trying every possible method, but the shaman could only shake his head. "Wolf King, the wasteland is beyond our reach. Our wolf tribe is not qualified." Crosby grabbed the shaman and roared hysterically. "Then why did you let her go? You knew perfectly well that I needed her, that I love her." The shaman tipped my precious herbs and dared not say anything at this moment, only letting Crosby go mad. Crosby waited for a long time until Lyra came over to persuade him. "Your Highness, Ember left because she didn't love you enough, but you still have me. Lyra will always follow behind you." Unexpectedly, the master glared at her angrily. "You vile creature, you know exactly what you've done. If it weren't for you, my disciple wouldn't have left in utter despair." The master also possesses the memory herb I gifted. With just one medicinal herb, all of Lyra's schemes to frame me were completely exposed. She recoiled in terror. "No, this is dark magic. Ember has always been full of tricks. You're all conspiring to frame me." Crosby trembled, his face pale. "So it's you, you bitch." He struck Lyra with a palm strike, showing no mercy, then threw his head back and laughed. "Ha ha ha, Ember has already left. What's the point of her framing you? She doesn't want me anymore. She doesn't want me." Crosby returned to the imperial capital in a daze, but the city covered in gray and white shocked him. He grabbed the townspeople and frantically questioned them. "Where are the red beans? Where did all these red beans disappear overnight?" The master snorted coldly. "Wasn't it your majesty who ordered the destruction of all the red beans in the city? Why ask now? Why this frenzy?" "Ember, I was wrong. I never imagined you'd done so much for me, but how can I ever find you again?" He remained kneeling on the ground, howling toward the sky. At that moment, a child ran out from the crowd, holding a letter which he handed to Crosby. "Your Majesty, Sister Ember asked me to give this to you." The child finished speaking and ran off, as Crosby delightedly opened the letter, but I only said a few words. "Crosby, the red lotus has withered. Love cannot be pursued. I've had the wedding dress cleaned. It suits Lyra perfectly. Wishing you both happiness." After reading the letter, Crosby could no longer hold back his sorrow and wept bitterly. "That soiled wedding dress. So you knew everything all along. I was wrong." The commoners shook their heads one after another. What a pity, Ember was so kind-hearted, yet the king actually drove her away with his temper. Without the protection of the red lotus fragrance, Wolf King City will likely become unstable in the future. Let's pack our belongings and leave sooner rather than later. Crosby heard it and excitedly went to pull the passerby. "No, don't leave. I'll go. I'll bring Ember back." The passerby snorted coldly. "Find her. Your Majesty should know that Miss Ember is the princess of the wasteland. How dare you think you can have her whenever you want?" Crosby was shocked. "What? Ember is the little princess of the wasteland? How did you know?" The common people left indifferently, their voices of regret echoing through the royal city. "When the red beans were destroyed that day and the wasteland red lotus revealed its true form, we knew. Only the little princess could cultivate this divine herb that saves lives. It's laughable that the king mistook that white-branched red lotus in her hand for the poison that harmed that wretch Lyra. In the end, it's that you didn't love enough, so you couldn't understand her." A light rain fell over the desolate Wolf King City. The master left, the people left. From that day on, Crosby wandered dazedly to the forest shaman, kneeling on the ground staring blankly at the barrier's location. A year passed like this, during which he did two things: ordered the confiscation of the Rabbit clan's properties and expelled them from Wolf territory. The second option was to abdicate in favor of the Fox clan, relinquishing all governing power. It wasn't until today's letter from my master that I learned how much the outside world had changed in just one day. But there's one thing that puzzles me. Where is my white-branched red lotus? I clearly had it tucked in my robe when we were in the barrier. Suddenly, a clear male voice sounded from behind. "Ember, are you looking for me?" 7. I turned around in surprise, only to see a man in white clothes with red hair standing up from the bushes beside me. His handsome face was full of grievance, and his slender body swayed unsteadily. I stammered as I pointed at him. Are you by Jihong Lian?" He sniffled and turned his head away. You finally noticed. I've been human for a whole year now." Boo-hoo, this fool, ever since becoming human, has been squatting nearby every day. Too afraid to leave or approach me, worried I'd find his transformation strange, covering my mouth to laugh, I stepped forward to grab his arm, wanting to hug him. Wait, where are the arms? The sleeves hung empty and limp. I searched in shock for what felt like ages, until Baiji's pitiful tears fell upon my face. Woo-woo. I was afraid you'd reject me for being disabled, so I kept myself buried in the soil. Woo-woo. You left my arms back in the Wolf King City's Yun Manor. I patted my head. Yes. When I first picked him up, 2 branches had fallen off. I thought maybe with some care new buds would sprout, but I never imagined those were actually his arms. What should I do now? I quickly thought of burning a message branch to ask my master to send it over, but White Branch said it couldn't be sent. I'd have to go out and get it. I looked outside, feeling helpless in my heart. For Baiji's sake, this journey was unavoidable. Although the barrier opens only once every 10 years. Those inside can leave if they wish. It's just harder to return. I thought to myself, if I leave this time, at worst I could just travel with Baiji for 10 years before coming back, and so, I pestered my father to open the barrier for me. I patted his head to soothe his fears, then coldly spoke while looking at the ragged but overjoyed Crosby beside me. Wolf King Crosby, long time no see. Crosby was overwhelmed with excitement, his parched lips parting as his hoarse voice called out faintly, Ember. You finally returned. I've waited so long for you. As he spoke, he moved forward to embrace me. Baiji quickly stepped in front of me. Ember, he's filthy. Don't let him touch you. A hurt expression flashed in Crosby's eyes as he trembled, watching Baiji's intimate closeness with me. Crosby, look at what you've become. This is your retribution. I summoned the shaman and handed him a medicinal herb. Shaman. Crosby has about 2 days left to live when I return. I don't want to see his corpse lying here. The shaman clutched the herb and nodded repeatedly. With that said, I took Baiji by the hand and turned to leave. Behind us, Crosby was screaming hysterically, crying and begging that he was wrong, pleading for me to save him. I brought Baiji to my master's place. These past 2 years, my master had been living well, staying here alone, continuously attempting to cultivate divine herbs on this land unsuitable for growing them. Baiji's arm was also properly kept by my master. The moment it was returned to its rightful owner, Baiji's first action was to tightly embrace me with her restored arm. He sniffled pitifully. Ember, I've wanted to hold you like this forever, to never let go. I chuckled wryly. He was just a divine herb I'd planted. What nonsense about forever? The future is long. We'll take it one step at a time. There's a sneaky figure following us outside the door. I know it's the unwilling Crosby. But he can't do anything to me, since he enjoys watching my happiness so much. Let him watch a little longer. Later, I traveled across this continent with Baiji, spending nearly 10 years. We went from friends to lovers, and he remained unwavering, even risking his life for me several times. He deserves my response. To my surprise, Crosby, using some forbidden technique, has managed